great with me. I prefer that.
Doing well, how about you?
Thank you. We'll go ahead and start our meeting. Kaylee, you got us on?
Yep, let's go.
Thank you. We'd like to welcome all of you some of you who's traveled quite a ways to be here. So we appreciate you being with us today and attending our meeting. Is there any opening statements or any comments from anybody? We good to go? So I've asked Commissioner Butters if he'll step up here and give us a word of prayer. Just come up here. You can stand right up here. That's all right.
Our Father in heaven, we gather at this county commission meeting today and give you thanks for the opportunity of being here. That we've been able to arrive safely, and we're thankful for the beautiful day that it is, the opportunity we have to do the business of the people. We are thankful for the beautiful land that we live in. We're thankful for the spring that we are having and the abundant water that we have at this time. We're grateful for those who sacrifice their time to participate in the government process, and we pray for a blessing of guidance and direction to be upon them as they deliberate here this day. When they make those decisions that will be for the best good of the citizens of this county. We give you thanks once again for all that thou hast done for us, and say these things in the name of Jesus Christ.
Amen. Thank you, Commissioner. We'd invite you to stand. Commissioner Johnson's going to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Commissioners, you have our minutes from May 23rd meeting. Any additions or corrections, if you've gone over them? Either Commissioner?
I have a couple things.
Okay,
I left my
Commissioner.
marked copy at home, so I've got
Okay.
to find it on this.
You know, okay, we'll give you time to find it and give us the corrections if you have some.
On line 69 and 68,
68 and 69, go ahead.
yeah, it mentions financial review, and then it says this was a duplicate item.
Well,
Do
what
we
page,
need to?
what page?
Oh, page 3, sorry.
Okay, because I can't even find a line.
Page 3, my
Page
bad.
3, okay. Let me get straight here, 68 and 69.
Yeah, is
Okay.
that necessary to have those in there? I don't know if it is.
What is
or
it?
If we can just delete those two lines, where it says financial review, and then it says this was a duplicate item.
It's listed on the agenda.
Okay. Okay,
Has
that's
to
what I
be
was
there.
wondering.
Okay,
Okay, and then there's another one where we were talking about this BLM stuff.
yes.
And in here it mentions that I was going to write a letter. Anyway,
We give you the assignment to
I
follow
wanted
through.
I wanted to say that I was going to work with Attorney Finlinson and,
Okay, do you have the line to change that?
no, I've got to find it again.
Can you find that, Kayla?
It would be other business.
Okay,
I'll look at it.
how about Commissioner Johnson, can you find that?
Okay, it's
Okay, there it is.
page 4 of line 91,
91?
yeah.
So you want to add
I just wanted to say that I would work with Attorney Finlinson and Clerk Rowley to see if we can come up with something. But I want to talk about that more later in this meeting, too.
Okay.
Got
You have
some
that
ideas.
change? Any, you have it? Okay, any others?
Nope, that's all I
Commissioner
have.
Johnson, you all right?
Yep, I'm good.
Okay, I need a motion.
I make a motion we approve the minutes from May 23rd, 2023,
With the
with the,
minor
with the
corrections.
changes.
Yeah. I second that motion.
Okay, I have a motion and a second to approve the minutes with the change that we made of November 23rd. All in favor, I say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay. Thank you very much. Okay, is there any follow-up or action items from the minutes that you've noticed we need to bring up at this time?
Nope.
I just had one, Pat. We had to fill out a form for, I guess, where our opioid money was going from, and I've talked to Pat, and we've done that. That's a follow-up, so we're good there? Nothing else. Anything else? Okay, thank you. Let's go on to our, we had, because it was not on the agenda, we have a ratification for a business license that we approved.
Do the first one.
There's one that needs to be approved, the second.
Okay, you have one, okay, discussion possible approval of business license for Distant Peak Engineering LLC. Do you have that?
Yep.
Okay. Any questions? Go
No.
ahead. Any questions?
I make a motion to approve the business license for Distant Peak Engineering LLC.
LLC.
I second that
I
motion.
have a motion and a second to approve the license for Distant Peak Engineering LLC. All in favor
Did you
indicate.
sign it?
No, I didn't,
Right there on that page, Bill.
but I will,
Where
right
that
here,
orange tag is.
where the tag is. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed, nay. Okay, next one, ratification. We approved this business license last time. It wasn't on the agenda, so we need to ratify our approval. So I need a motion to ratify our approval of it.
I make a motion that we ratify approval of Ugly Mug's business license.
Okay, Ugly
Second.
Mud's business license, I have a second. All in favor, any more discussion? In favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed, nay. Also, we approved our economic development contract that we have with Stewart and Peck.
Have that, because we never got, I never received a signed copy of it, and Attorney Finley.
I've had it and seen it. It's-
Wasn't it emailed to us?
What's that?
Or
It was
that-
emailed to
It
us,
was
yeah.
emailed, but Bill had the printed copy in here that was signed. That's what they're looking for, is the one that Bill signed
Oh.
after it was approved.
So if you want to sign a new one, and
I'll sign a new one. Okay, need a motion for ratification of our action. That was,
I make a motion, we ratify the contract for economic development.
I second that motion.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None. Let's go on to interim successors to our clerk. What have you got for us? Does that complete all of them, or have we still
Nope,
got
I'm still
some?
missing.
Okay, are
So
they
I can tell you
aware?
who we have it from. So
Pardon?
we have From Attorney Finlinson,
Okay,
Rowley, Auditor Smith, Recorder Dickens, IT Director Richard Beckstrand, East Millard, Recreation Brendan Turner, Golf Pro.
Is these the ones we've done or you
That's-
haven't done?
That's what you have in your hand.
oh, okay.
And then Justice Court Judge Cindy Probert.
So you have some left then, and they
Yep,
are
I'm
aware of
still-
it?
I'll make sure they are.
You want to see that real quickly? So you've seen what interim successors we've had to approve. Is there any discussion or comments?
I think it looks appropriate.
Okay, want to make a motion?
I make a motion that we approve the interim successors.
Second.
Have a motion second, we approve interim successors. Any discussion of that motion? Any more comments?
So just so you know, it'll be on. We'll keep it on the agenda until we receive all of them.
Till you receive all of them? Okay, so we'll have it next time. Okay, thank you. You've seen the list of names. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, if any? Okay, thank you. Discussion possible approval of annual security contract for the bailiff services. Pat, do you have that? You have that, Marky? Okay. Tell us what we're doing here. Is it the same?
It's
More
just
or
an annual
less?
contract that you renew each year if you so choose. Sheriff, did you see that contract?
Do you have a comment, Sheriff, or we good? It's the same as previous year?
I think there was some slight increase, I don't remember for sure, but
But you're good with it?
yeah. There's no logistical change to it.
Is this a company that or group that we contract out to?
No, we're providing the service. We're
We're
contracting with
providing.
the state courts.
Oh, for the state courts, okay.
We're just recording juvenile court, justice
All
court.
right. Any questions or discussion with the security contract, service contract?
I make a motion, we approve the annual security contract for bailiff services.
I second that motion.
I have a motion and a second that we approve the contract for bailiff services. Any more discussion? Seeing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye?
Sorry, I'm just waiting.
Yeah, here this
Did
is.
you sign it, Commissioner?
No, I didn't. I'll get it signed here. We're at the front page.
I'm not sure.
Okay. All right. Did you lose us, Kayla? Okay, all right, okay. Thank you. Okay, next item on our agenda, we have an update. We have the commissioner and some staff with him from the Utah Department of Agriculture and Food, Craig Brothers and Kelly Pearson. And when you get started here, would you each announce your names and who you have with you, and then we'll just ask for you to go ahead and proceed. We appreciate you coming down today. Thanks for coming, and we have a county that is very well respected in the state of Utah as far as agriculture production. I think Commissioner will probably show us where we stand with most counties, so thank you very much.
Thank you.
And if each of you maybe give your names and then go ahead and
Okay.
proceed with what you have for us. Thank you.
Okay. I'm Commissioner Craig Butters with the Utah Department of Agriculture and Food. And I'll let the others introduce themselves.
I'm Leanne Hunting. I'm the Director of Animal Industry at Utah Department of Agriculture and Food.
My name's Amber Brown. I'm the Director of Government and Legislative Affairs at the Department of Agriculture and Food.
And I'm Kelly Pearson. I'm the Deputy Commissioner at the Department of Agriculture and Food.
Okay, thank you. Thanks for being with us. You didn't get a chance to meet, this is Commissioner Lyman. You're probably not acquainted with her. You met Commissioner Johnson, and I think you know who I am. You've had too much of me already, so.
Yeah. Well, it's good to be here with you today. This has been a beautiful spring, and this is one of the most beautiful parts of the state, in my opinion, especially when it's this green and pretty. What we're doing here, we are going throughout the state to each county council and commission to introduce the department and some of the programs that we have. We're also getting out to meet a lot of the new commissioners, as with your county, a lot of the commissioners and council members in the state are new. And so we wanted to get out and meet these new council members and commission members. So first to start off with, let's see, which button are we pushing? Okay. The Utah Department of Agriculture and Food actually has its roots back in 1896 when the Board of Horticulture was formed in the state. And in 1921, several different agencies were combined to form the Department of Agriculture and Food. And so we are just over 100 years old as a department. Some of the things that we do, some of the responsibilities that we have is general stewardship for agriculture. We also do inspections, regulations, consumer protection, and the inspections and regulations that we do are in an effort to protect consumers. We also do rulemaking, and which means that when the legislature passes legislation, we have to write rules to how to implement that. We do loan assistance through our ARTL program and our rural rehab program. We also, in our plant industry division, have pest and disease control, and we do marketing and economic development. The different divisions we have 10 divisions. I won't read through all of those, but you may be interested to know that we oversee the medical cannabis and industrial hemp program in the state. Our newest division, and not our newest program, but the newest division is actually our grazing improvement program, which I'm sure some of your producers have taken advantage of here in the county.
Good to be with you, Commissioners. When Commissioner Butters came on board a few years ago, it had been a long time since the department had done a strategic plan. And so we went around the state of Utah, met with elected officials, met with a lot of producers, and we wanted to see their vision for agriculture for the next 5 to 10 years, and what our role as an agency would be to help implement kind of their vision of agriculture in their different areas of the state. And this helped us come up with quite a few goals, and we're going to talk about the goals that we got with the strategic plan, but then also how we're going to accomplish those goals through programs that we got funding through the legislation. The first goal was agri-structure. As many of you may know, that if you wanted to get your cow harvested right now, you're a year and a half out, and that is a huge issue throughout the state. And it helped bring to light how much more processing we need in the state, not only meat, but fruits and vegetables. And right now, we have seen a major shortage of processing all over, not just any certain county. So agri-structure is going to help us find ways to do more processing throughout the state. The workforce, not only is it hard to find people that want to work on farms, the average age of a producer is around just over 60 years old. And this is a worldwide issue, not only here in Utah, but all over. We've got to find ways to get younger people wanting to be into agriculture. And the only way we can do that is to make it profitable and make it easier to access capital, land, and other things. So this is a big goal of ours. Even in rural areas, ag land preservation is a big key. Commissioner and I just got back from Israel, and it was interesting to see how Israel would build in the hills and leave their ag land alone for future generations. The Wasatch Front has done the opposite, and we're going to regret that someday. We got to find ways to preserve ag land for future generations. And again, this was even a big issue in rural areas, is how to preserve good ag land in their areas. During COVID, it was scary to see the empty grocery stores and how quick the food chain can be disrupted. And we got to find ways for Utah to be more self-reliant. And so we're continuing to find ways to do it. We know that we can't grow everything here in Utah, but we can find ways to do more and be more diverse with our products that we grow here in Utah. And we just don't want this to happen again. Education, there's many ways for people to come back and work on the farm, not just behind a tractor, finding ways and new programs to get people into agriculture, 2 sessions ago, we were able to help get a vet school at Utah State, and that will come in a couple years. It's just finding different ways to get people into agriculture. But also we partner with Farm Bureau to do ag in the classroom to help educate our youth where their food comes from. It's sad to say that probably my own kids think it grows in the grocery store. So continually educating not only our youth but the media of why we have alfalfa and where it fits in the food supply chain. There's a lot of employees that work here from the Department of Ag, and we want to make sure that we are partners with our producers. We are a unique agency where we have to regulate and promote agriculture, so we're the good cop and the bad cop. But we want to make sure that our employees here in your county are providing the best service to our producers, being a partner with them, not over-regulating them, bringing them hope that they continue to be successful in agriculture. So if you hear anything different about our employees not providing the best service, we want to hear about it, because that is a big goal of ours. Turn it back.
All right. So I'm going to talk for a minute about the benefits of agriculture in Utah. I think that you probably understand these, and I may be preaching to the choir here, but agriculture provides food, fiber, and animal feed. It also strengthens our local food security, which is, we'll talk about that a little bit more later. It creates rural jobs, and conservation and open space preservation is another thing we'll talk about a little bit more. But it is a large economic driver for rural areas and provides water and resources for wildlife. I think a lot of us, we probably might not realize that wildlife benefits from agriculture because of our water irrigation systems and other things. So Millard County, at a glance, here's some of the figures that we've put together, and this is from the 2017 census that USDA does. So almost $180 million of market value ag products are sold from your county. There are 634 farms, 481,000 plus acres of farmland. The average farm size is 736 acres. Irrigated acres are 122,680, and 93% of the farms in the county are family owned. So broken down by what share of sales by different type of sales, about 47% comes from crops and 53% from livestock. So as far as your ranking in the state, you rank number 1 in total crop production, number 1 in other crops and hay, number 2 in grains, oil seeds, dry beans, dry peas, number 2 in poultry and eggs, and number 3 in total market value of ag products. So you can see that you rank very high in the state in many of these very important industries. Okay.
So I talked to you about the goals that our strategic plan had. Now I'm going to talk to you about some of the programs, and we will actually send an email out to every one of you with all the links to our different programs that you can share with your constituents right after this. So the first one is our Utah Food Security Processing Grant. 2 sessions ago, we started a pilot program to help us try to get more processing in the state. We asked for a lot of money. We were able to get $1 million for an initial pilot program. And with that pilot program, in the first year, we had 79 applicants, over 14 million in requests, and we awarded 17 grants, roughly from 10,000 to 150,000. And you can see on the map of where these were awarded in that first year of the pilot program. This last session, we were able to get another $1 million for this grant program, and the application period actually just ended on May 31st. And what did we get, maybe roughly? Little bit more applicants, so it's been a very successful program. We hope to continue to get ongoing funding for this program. But what it is if any processor needs new equipment or a refrigerator, anything that will help them process more, is eligible for the grant. It's a non-matching grant. We capped it at $200,000 this year, and hopefully there's people in your county that applied for it. So we're excited about this program.
What kind of businesses or production did most of that go for? Is there
So
anything?
last year it was pretty evenly split between fruit and vegetable.
Speak loud so we can.
Oh, whoops.
I'll go grab the mic. So in the applications that we received last year, it was pretty evenly split between fruit and vegetable processors and meat and dairy processors.
Okay.
So we really kind of saw it, and we saw it for 26 counties all over the state and all different kinds of products. I think this year it's weighted a little more strongly on the meat side, but I don't have those numbers right off the top of my head right now, but.
So is that going to co-ops or going to individual owned processors?
Most of them are individually owned. We had a couple of co-ops that have applied, but some
But
did
you're
receive
focusing
funding.
more on individual.
Yeah, any business that has less than 100 employees
Okay, thank
is
you.
eligible.
Just a few weeks ago, we actually got awarded 2 federal grants. The first one is the Regional Food Business Center Program, and this will help us to partner with Utah State to hire a few employees to help producers apply for federal money. There's a lot of federal programs out there, but a lot of our producers don't know how to get there. And these employees will be an information center to help our producers seek federal funding in different areas of agriculture. So we're excited about that. The other one is a matching grant to the pilot program I just talked about. So we we haven't got the final numbers yet, but we're roughly thinking we're going to get $2 million to match. $3 million, okay. To do more processes in the state. So we'll be able to match our state fund with grants from $100,000 to $3 million based on the money that we got. So this is something that we just got awarded, so we're still getting the details of it, but we hope to have some more federal funding to match with our state program. Now, if I can get a video to work.
Every county has a little bit different audiovisual system, so Kelly's, we've got about 5 counties left, and Kelly's getting pretty good at
You're
figuring.
doing pretty good to
figuring all
figure it
this
out, yeah.
Yeah.
Mother Nature is extremely Mother Nature was an extremely hard taskmaster, the hardest boss.
Okay.
You're pulling it from the file?
Okay, while they're working on that, I'll talk a little bit about our water optimization program. We got initial funding of $3 million in 2019 for agricultural optimization. And what that goes for is irrigation projects to help either on farm or conveyance to the farm to minimize loss through seepage or other things like that. So it goes for lining open canals or piping canals, and on-farm use could be for going from flood irrigation to sprinkler irrigation or surge irrigation, and now we're even looking at drip irrigation as ways that we can be more efficient with water. So initially we got $3 million in 2019, we got another $3 million in 2021, but in 2022 we got $70 million from the legislature, and this last session in '23, we got $200 million from the legislature. So this last appropriation, $50 million of that was federal ARPA funds. And initially, we got $70 million of ARPA funding too. So there's a lot of money available right now. We just finished a round of applications. We'll have another round of applications in the fall. And we've been working to hire the staff that we need to work with farmers and ranchers in providing this program and this funding to them so they can get the money on the ground. We have, in earlier rounds of funding, we were weighted a little bit more towards the Great Salt Lake and the watershed there, but now we are not weighting as weighting the applications as heavily towards that
So
watershed.
has the legislature found out that water don't run uphill?
Yeah.
Or have they figured that out yet?
I think.
There is a
I
line
think we're
that
learning.
goes this way.
That's right.
And you can throw a lot of money at it, but it's probably not going to run that way anyway, or?
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I don't know.
You got that message or not?
They're talking about desalination and, all kinds of things. So there's a lot of discussion about water. And of course, this year kind of took a lot of the pressure off, but we're still looking at, making some significant investments in the wise use of water and the efficient use of water.
So what did you learn in Israel that we're not doing? Did you learn anything over there about optimization?
I think it was interesting to me that the only things that they sprinkle, irrigate, were potatoes and their wheat crop if they need to. But they plant their wheat and take advantage of the winter moisture, and, their climate's a little bit different than ours is here.
So they get a good advantage out of dry land then?
Yeah.
They get enough rain?
Yeah. And, but as far as their fruit crops and things, they do drip irrigation systems. That's a majority of their irrigation is drip irrigation. So, before you start that. Another thing we learned is that they use desalination plants and take water from the Mediterranean and desalinate that, and that's their majority, about 80% of their culinary water.
Is that working?
Is desalinated water, yes.
What's the cost like?
Their water costs a lot more than ours.
Yeah.
We figured that the culinary water was what, $50 per person per household per month, so.
Per month?
Yeah.
Whoa.
So they pay
You
a
got
lot
10
more.
kids, you'd have a pretty big bill.
That's true. That's true, but, but society over there has been trained that every drop of water is very, is very important, and conserving water is very important, and so they try to conserve wherever they can. And then another thing that we learned was that their wastewater is treated, and that's what they use for the majority of their agricultural crops, is treated wastewater. And they have huge pipelines that go from the large cities out into the country where they water their crops with that wastewater. So those were some interesting things that
Well,
we learned.
I saw one of the news channels in Salt Lake had a program on there, and you may have been on there, but weren't most of their drip lines underground too, so that the water's never exposed to the atmosphere to prevent evaporation?
Yeah, and they grow alfalfa in under drip irrigation. They bury the pipe or the drip line about 8 inches deep, and once they get the alfalfa established, you're putting your nutrients and your water right down in the roots where they're going to be the most beneficial.
So, I don't think it's a problem on this side of the county, but on the west side of the county, my brother and I, we've looked into the drip system because we're doing quite a bit down in Arizona. The severe water is really salty, and so we still have to have a cement ditch, we still have to have or a dirt ditch or some type of, so we can flush the salts through once or twice a year.
Yeah.
Is an issue that we have.
And I don't know that they have that issue over there. We didn't have that discussion, but of course that, all along the west side of the state, that's an issue even up in Box
salty
Elder
water.
County.
Okay.
Yeah. So those are some things that we would have to mitigate for, so. Okay,
You got it, Kelly? I hope so. Okay,
here we go.
Mother Nature is a
thanks to our clerks.
hard taskmaster. The hardest boss that anybody could ever have. There's no mercy. Probably half of my time is spent trying to use the water as efficiently as possible. We lose a few $100,000 year after year, it's tough. Oh,
we've had more dry years, we've had wet years, and I think that's become the normal. The land is drier, the rangeland is drier, springs that we can usually count on being there are drying up. So it's a scary time.
The department right now is in the process of working through our agricultural water optimization program. And this is a way that we can help farmers and ranchers use their water more efficiently. If the opportunity is presented, farmers and ranchers want to do better with the resources that they have. They're reaching out to producers, they're reaching out to other individuals saying, hey, look, here's what we're up against, here's what we're facing. How can we overcome this? The Department of Ag is always there backing you up.
Change and conservation and best practices are changing and evolving, and I am very willing to evolve with them. With the help of UDAP and NRCS, we've been able to adapt those practices more quickly.
With the limited availability of water, by increasing the efficiency, even on these drought years, we may be able to farm nearly all of our acres. And so without some help from the state, I wouldn't be able to do this.
No one knows better than us the finite resources that we have here. So I don't think there's anyone that could care more about the land and its health and balance than the people that are living on it and working on it. It's the lifeblood. We all understand what water is our lifeblood. We do our best to conserve it and to use it wisely, because without it, we're nothing.
All right. I think I explained that, prior to the video, but one of the things that we also do, you notice there was a pivot with the nozzles that have the large droplets. I mean, the LIPA is, the system is what we call it, but that decreases evaporation, and so that's one of the changes that we can also use this funding for. Let's see. Okay. The next one is our Ag Stress Assistance Program. The department received a $500,000 grant from the federal government to work on mental health assistance for agricultural producers. We've partnered with Utah State University Extension Ag Wellness to do a $2,000 voucher for farmers and ranchers and their families to receive mental health care from IHC if they need that. We're also doing training for producers so they can help recognize their friends or neighbors who may be having issues with mental health and how they can help those. We're also working this summer, we're going to be doing 6 different regional, I guess you could call them producer socials, where we're getting the farmers and ranchers together to just talk about some of the challenges that they've faced this last winter. It's been a tough one. And so some folks up in Rich County came up with this idea, and we're actually helping to sponsor these get-togethers just so farmers and ranchers can get together and talk about some of the ways that they deal with these issues, and we'll take a short, probably 10 minutes to explain this program.
Is it Trevor, before that people in agriculture have the highest suicidal rate of any other vocation?
Yeah, we're one of the highest. I'm not sure if we're still the highest.
Okay.
So,
So that's what debt does.
yeah, that's true. That's true. Debt plays a big role in that. We're also helping to train 988 crisis line responders. So we've got another video that we're going to pull up here. So if you remember the way you did it last time.
The preservation of ag land is very important.
Here she comes.
Depends on I can remember 2 or 3 button clicks to, but if it's more than that.
Preservation of ag land is very important as we go and look at.
Thanks for your patience. We'll get this back on. The Leroy McAllister Fund, Commissioner, I'm sure you're well aware of the Leroy McAllister Fund, and it was established probably when you were in the legislature. Initially, it was to provide trails and recreational activities, but it's kind of shifted focus to agricultural land and preserving agricultural land now, and this video just kind of explains that.
Right now, much of this acreage that the preservation of ag land is very important as we go and look at the acreage that is being developed right now. Much of it is acreage that I never thought I would see developed in my lifetime. A lot of farmers go out there and they talk about the development, and they say, you know, those houses are the last crop that is ever going to be planted out there on that property. When you have a place that has importance like this, you kind of want to have it last, and conservation easements are the way to do it. Conservation easement is essentially an agreement between a private landowner and a nonprofit or a state or a federal agency to limit the amount of development that takes place on a piece of property. Essentially what you're doing is you are purchasing the right to develop on that piece of property.
Working with the state and the Nature Conservancy with our easement, we're really helping to protect a massive area of land that's critical for winter range, for migratory corridors, and it's really a special thing to know, you know, my kid can come back after I'm gone and be like, oh wow, this is still the same, it still looks the same.
There isn't an inch on my either side that I haven't gathered or rock up, turned over the soil, so instead of being an investment, it now becomes part of my soul.
The protection of land utilized for agricultural production is one of the major goals that we have at the Department of Agriculture and Food. The Leroy McAllister program has been a very effective and a very useful program in the state of Utah over the last several years. Over $20 million has been put into the program, and well over $100 million in matches come in to be able to put this land into conservation easements. And so it's a very useful program, and I feel like it is continuing to build momentum.
Deciding to do a conservation easement on our ground was kind of a tough decision. I mean, we looked at it, and you know, the money situation is very different for whether you sell your ground or whether you put it into a conservation easement. And at the end of the day, we had to kind of look ourselves in the mirror and say, what's more important, our heritage, who we are, what we love doing, or money? And ultimately, we decided that, you know what, it was worth the sacrifice to give up a little bit to be able to have the opportunity to do what we love.
Even people in the community, as they come, they know now that this property is going to remain open, that it will never be built on, and what a great legacy to leave our community.
Okay. But with our Leroy McAllister, last year, that program was brought into the Department of Agriculture and Food from the Governor's Office of Planning and Budget. And so we oversee that through the Land Conservation Board now. And the application for that, it is open right now. So the application period for the Leroy McAllister our Working Farm and Ranch Protection Fund, that's a new name, but that is currently open right now. So.
The one thing to note on that is that affects every county is House Bill 371. What it does is if anybody buys ag land, that developer will have to pay the rollback taxes, and 20% of that rollback taxes has to go towards open space or an easement within your county. So that took effect as of May. So I don't know how much rollback taxes comes into Millard County, but something to think about going forward. So 20% of that will. And we hope that you will use your 20% to come to our program, and then we'll help match that with federal program as well. So we have hired a full-time employee, Jeremy Christensen, that will probably start coming to some of your planning and zoning meetings and introduce himself to help you guys administer, hopefully match your 20% with some type of funding going forward. So, want to talk about this one, Amber?
Yeah. So I just a quick plug for the Utah Agricultural Mediation Program at the department. We received some funding from the USDA to be able to provide free mediation services to agricultural producers. Typically, we mediate cases involving disputes with USDA agencies, so grazing permits disputes with the Forest Service or FSA loan problems that have come up. We can come in and provide mediation for free to a producer to help keep them out of court, save them time, cut down on expensive litigation costs. We can also help mediate non-USDA disputes in a variety of areas. So we just wanted to make sure you were aware, as you become aware of issues that your producers in your county may be facing, that this is available to them. We have information available on our website, and like Kelly said, we're going to send all this out to you guys after, because this is a great service that we can help provide. Mediation is just a neutral setting where everybody comes together and tries to work out their issues in a way that they all agree.
Thank you.
Okay, so just to wrap up, one of the things that we're encouraging counties to do is just recognize the importance of agriculture in their county, and that as you work with your planning and zoning and pass ordinances, that you can consider how they impact agriculture and production agriculture in your county. I know one of the issues that we deal with is a lot of our agricultural processing facilities are having a hard time finding a place to locate. And so we hope that, you can take those things into consideration in the future as you look at protecting agriculture. Thank you for your time. If you have any questions, we'd be happy to answer any questions.
Commissioners, you got any comments or questions? Or
I've got a few questions.
Okay, go ahead.
You're just mentioning it's hard to find a place for production facilities. Are you guys working at all with the 6 counties ag park?
Yes, we are.
Oh, great.
We worked with them to try and help get that funding. And so we did get the $8 million. I know they were looking for, trying to get about twice that much, but hopefully in the future we can continue partnering with them on that. So.
Also, you mentioned that there's going to be some federal programs that people can apply for food processing. Is there a contact person we should tell people about, or will it be on this website you guys are talking about?
We'll send some information on that email about it, but yeah, we have our cards there. Share our information to anyone.
Okay, so any of you guys could help with that?
Yep.
On our UNAP website, there is a menu drop down at the top that says newsletter, and you can sign up. Anybody can sign up to receive a newsletter from us every month, and we've been sending out a lot of grant opportunities in that.
Okay. Okay, sorry, another question. You were talking about water optimization, and most of these grants, it looks like, or all of them have been for more efficient irrigation. And I was going to ask you about those hanging sprinkler lines, I think you called them, LIPA, and you answered my question there. But also, a lot of people in this area are worried about our aquifer and it being overpumped. We don't want to end up collapsing it like happened in Iron County. And the farmers here that use the agricultural wells, most of them I don't think have the flow meters or totalizers on their wells. And I know when they dig those that they're actually supposed to agree to put those on, but I guess they probably think that they can't afford them. Could this money go towards getting meters put on their wells so that we can kind of make sure people are only using as much water as they're entitled to?
I think that's probably an issue with the water resources or the state engineer, but I do know that any of these projects that we do have to be metered. So the water use has to be measured. That way we can get a better idea of what irrigation water we have in the state, and it helps us to make better decisions if we know that. So.
And the new bill, House Bill 270, is it House Bill or 277? it did set aside $25 million for water optimization just for metering and data collection. But again, this is for those that get water optimization projects. So if they want to try to get a meter outside of the project, that definitely is a water resource question. So
Okay, so if they wanted to get those hanging lines, those LIPA lines, then they would have to get a meter put on their well.
correct. And we will be collecting data on how much water they're saving throughout with that
Oh,
project.
yeah, I think that'd be great,
Yeah.
because you can drive by and these sprinklers are going and there's 50-mile-an-hour winds, and there's not much of it hitting the ground below the sprinklers, so that would be great.
Trevor, you good?
No, not right now.
Okay, just, thank you very much. I have a concluding comment, I guess, is it has to do with a lot of the things that we're faced with in the county. I like these statistics and want everybody to know that we're the #1 in the state of Utah as far as crops. Recently and in the past and in the future, this county has also been a center for energy development, as you may be aware of. And so there's, I wouldn't say pressure, there's lots of people and companies to develop green energy to come to Millard County. We welcome those companies to come. We have open arms for agriculture, we have open arms for those companies. However, most of those companies want tax rebates. Now, just let me make a point to the commissioners on that. When we give a tax rebate, we shift the taxes to someone else. That taxes are shifted back to these farms and ranches and those with their homes and buildings. So as we give tax rebates to energy, why we end up, private citizens pay a bigger part of that tax, which puts a burden on agriculture. And what I'm saying, I don't think we should disadvantage one sector or another. My personal opinion is, in 20, 30, 40, 50 years, this county will be better off if it grows both sectors, not one or the other, if they can live together, if they're compatible. If we allow one to take advantage over the other, we won't be as happy in 50 years, I'll promise you that. So we already have good standing. We want to protect that good, we don't need to do nothing for them, we just need to not over-regulate them through burden of taxes. We want to increase our energy development, we have lots of interest here, and we want to increase that, but we don't want to give any one sector advantage over the other. That's just something, and that's what we do when we start giving rebates to ag or somebody else, we end up shift the tax burden. So thank you, I don't know if you got any closing comments. Thanks for coming in.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Thank you.
Thanks for
Yeah,
coming.
thanks for
Thank you.
coming.
You'd be welcome to stay, but I'm sure you probably don't want to. We'll excuse you.
And if anybody who came in during the presentation has not signed our roll, I invite you to come up now while we're getting things set back up. Please put your name on the roll so that we can have accurate representation of who came in.
Okay, thank you. We're going to go now to our 10:30 item, public hearing for the purpose of hearing public comment on the zoning ordinance map, amended application Z-2023-020. So I need a motion to enter a public hearing.
I make a motion that we enter into a public hearing.
Okay, I have a motion to enter into a public hearing for this purpose. Need a second?
I make a second.
Okay, I have a second. Any more discussion to that? No more other discussion. We are now in public hearing. So we would invite any member of the audience who would like to come up, and Adam is not with us today. He had another commitment. So this is, I think we all understand what it is. It's basically some, Pat, you want to just quickly go over it? Some ag property that's being what?
Well, it's ag and highway commercial being changed to light industrial.
Changed to light industrial.
It's the companion parcel to a zone change that was approved by the commission 3 or 4 months ago.
Okay.
Right next to it.
And I am going to make note that this used to be
You're not going to vote. So.
my dad's property, just to make that record, so. Well,
He can vote, he doesn't need to recuse, he just needs to disclose.
Yeah,
No,
he's
I'm just disclosing
He's
that
just,
it
he's
is.
just disclosing it. So, public hearing, is there anybody in the audience?
Mr.
Go ahead,
Church is the one that can
now,
explain.
now's your time, if that's why you're here, yeah. I'm sorry if I haven't been clear. This is a public hearing, not a commission hearing. The time is the public, so go ahead. If you'll introduce yourself and,
I'm Shane Church, I'm the one who submitted the application.
okay, sit down there, Shane, so we can hear you. Go ahead and talk into the mic, okay?
Okay, I'm Shane Church, I'm the one who submitted the application on behalf of Dave Johnson and my company, and we're interested in acquiring the property to build a new building on for our future home location, as well as, I believe we're gonna work with Gordon Porter and Porter Trucking to relocate them to a portion of that land as well.
Okay.
Can you speak into the mic a little bit? We're not picking you up very well.
Yeah, you gotta pull it up.
Sorry, is that better? Okay. We're gonna try to develop this property into our future location for my business and for possibly Porter Trucking's future location. Right now, we kind of have landed on just zoning the rest of this 53-acre parcel to bring it all into the same kind of square area. And I do have, I can pull it up on my laptop, I don't know how to make it connect to that, but if you guys are not familiar with the exact parcels.
I think we have somewhat, you're familiar, are you familiar?
We
Do you-
saw a map.
You need a map, we've seen a map before, so I
Okay,
think
so
we're
it's,
good.
it's just that remaining little chunk of land that makes it into a kind of a rectangle right there that we would be looking to get changed over, and then we're working with the city and, excuse me, having future discussions about annexation and full development of that property. But that's all later down the road. Right now, we're just looking to relocate our business, and part of that is going to be to get the zoning done so that we can then apply for application to build and all that stuff.
So this is a piece in the county that has a potential for some improvement, as before they've been working with it. The city's considering maybe furnishing some of their municipal services, but that's something down the road. So, that all? You good?
Yes,
Is there
sir.
anybody else who would like to speak for or against? Okay, thank you, Shane. Thanks for coming in. I'll now entertain a motion that we, if no other speakers, that we close the public hearing.
I make a motion that we close the public hearing.
Second. Have a motion and second that we close a public hearing. Any more discussion to that? Seeing none, I'll move a vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed, nay? Okay, next item on the agenda, discussion and possible adoption of ordinance 23-6-06 pertaining to changing what we've discussed. So to the commission, any comments, discussions? You're welcome to make comments. We know you've already disclosed. You're welcome to make comments. Anything?
I probably spent like 15 minutes having a conversation with Mr. Church a couple of weeks ago, and what he's planning, I think, sounds great. And when he does something, he does it right, and I think it's a good thing for the county.
It is a good thing. Seeing no further, I'd entertain a motion that we approve, that we adopt the ordinance 23-6-06.
I make the motion that we adopt ordinance 23-6-06, changing the zoning of approximately 53.25 acres of property located east of Delta.
Okay, I'll step from the chair and second that motion. We need a roll call, or? We do? Where is it? Oh, it's over here.
Roll call vote on ordinance 23-06-06 as discussed. Commissioner Johnson.
Yes.
Commissioner Lyman.
Yes.
Commissioner Wright.
Yes.
The ordinance references the application. I usually depend on Adam to bring that, so you'll have to get that from the planning department before you can record it and finalize it.
Anything else, Pat? We good? Okay, we're going on to the next 1040 item, discussion possible approval of ambulance abatements. Lindsay, are you giving us some information here?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Your vowels today.
And so we're supposed to get through all this?
On
That's all.
Okay. Give us the short version, okay?
So I've got 3 ambulance abatements today. The first one is for Patricia Banda. Her total ambulance bill is $1,796.52. Her 2021 gross income was $17,388. She is currently not working. Her monthly expenses is $427. That includes some medical bills. And she has a family size of 1. She did not list any assets or a home, vehicle. She didn't include a letter, so I don't know her specific situation. It was a car accident on Main Street that
Car
caused
accident?
a car accident, yeah.
Is that here in Fillmore or Delta?
Delta.
Delta, okay.
She's turned in her 2021 tax return is in the back.
Do you want to present all 3 and then we'll have discussion, I guess?
Okay.
Is that, what do you want to do? Is that all right? Can you keep 3 separate? Okay, go ahead. Present all 3 and then we'll
Okay.
come back.
The second one is for Timothy Nolt. His bill is $2,060.88. He's got a 2021 gross income of $42,218. Monthly expenses is $4,306, which includes medical, family size of 1. The subject was delivering a load of pipe to Utah, and the pipe came off the trailer, crushed him. He spent months in IHC hospitals with surgeries and treatments, and he wasn't paid during that time off. He had no workers' compensation.
Where did that accident happen at?
Out on 3000 West in Delta.
So is that for conveyance to the local hospital here then, or?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
He was just brought here, and I believe he might have been life-flighted from here.
He might have been like.
North.
Okay.
Because we don't have another bill for him.
So, but that's not, all here is just our ambulance. It's
Right,
not that. Okay.
right.
Go ahead.
He says that he owes IHC $17,000. He did write a letter, I believe. Or maybe he was. Not sure where I put his letter. But anyway, he was unable to work. He's, it's right here. So he did not have workers' comp. He was responsible for all of his bills. IHC did give him a little bit of a write-off, but he still owes them that $17,000. The last one is Teresa Trio. Her bill is $5,717. Her and her husband's gross income is $38,577. He is employed by Duckworth. Monthly expenses is $2,318, including medical. They have a trailer, a single wide, I'm assuming, worth $5,000, and their family size is 2. This was a transfer to Utah Valley. She claims she's ineligible for insurance. She is diabetic and has all those monthly expenses with her diabetic medications. Her husband is the primary provider, and he's 75 and unable to get a second job, and was just diagnosed with high blood pressure, which adds another monthly medical expense.
Was a transfer from their home? Did she get sick?
This was from Fillmore Hospital to Utah Valley.
Okay, she went to Fillmore, and then they had to transfer up there because they couldn't provide what they
Yeah.
needed.
And she did write a little note, her letter in there, but it was basically summarized in the front.
Okay, any other comments, Lindsay?
Nope, that's all the information I've got on them.
There's a lot. Somebody spent a lot of time. Appreciate that. Okay, to the commission, comments, suggestions?
All 3 of these meet the criteria, don't they?
I actually haven't looked at, we've got that form I brought last time. I haven't looked at that to see.
Are you assuming they do?
It would be probably pretty, the Banda one, I think would fall within that. The Trio one would fall somewhere within an abatement, and I'm not sure about the Timothy Nolt.
I know on the Trio one, it mentions their medication they have to take, and
And diabetic medication is quite expensive
Yeah.
without.
And Dr. Smith was telling me that insurance doesn't really cover diabetic medicine very well.
Yeah, and they don't have insurance, so they're up on a cash price.
Do we need to double check and see so that we're consistent, that we're
Do
meeting?
you have the form that I brought?
If you give it to us last time.
Was it, well, yeah, last time I brought them.
The answer to that is no. That's the only question I have, and the only question I would have that is that we're consistent. We have to find, I guess, at what level.
Right.
And be
And I-
consistent with that level, so that's
Okay.
what I'm concerned.
And I can double check that if you want to approve them to go off of that model. I can, when I get back to the office, abate that amount if you want to approve.
Well, we could go ahead with the approval and then ratify or whatever we need next time and just make sure that we're,
Yeah, as long as they qualify,
it's not any individual, it's just consistent with what, I don't know how we set a level of consistency and, because
Right.
it's really hard to determine where we should go. These are not
Right.
easy cases. You
Well,
know.
if you want to go ahead and approve them and sign them, then I'll
You'll
abate
check
that
and see
amount.
if they qualify?
Yeah, I'll check and see
To
if
the
they qualify,
commissioners.
abate that amount, and then I can send you an email, or we can bring it next time.
Got a comment, Commissioner
I was
Johnson, or
looking at
should
something
we
real quick.
proceed? Give us just a minute.
So on the responsible party on Teresa's, it has a Juan Ramos on there.
Yeah, that's her husband.
That's her husband? Okay, all right. The other ones have their names on it, so that's why I was just a little.
Yeah, I think she put that because he's the
Okay.
main worker, provider.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm fine with that. If you'll go back and just.
I
make
think
sure
that's
they-
probably the best way. If you want to give us a motion that we,
I make a
to
motion.
that effect, and then,
Okay.
go ahead.
I make a motion that we approve the ambulance abatements that we discussed as long as they qualify.
Within the standard, okay?
I second it.
I have a motion second that we approve these, and Lindsay's going to go back and make sure, look at the criteria so that we become consistent. They qualify, and then let us know. So any discussion of that motion? Okay, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed, nay. Thank you very
And I'll
much.
shoot all three of you a
Okay.
email that explains what I did.
Thanks
Okay, thank you.
Thanks for the work, Lindsay. Thank you. Okay, thank you. Go on, the next item on the agenda, 10:45, we're not caught up yet. Public hearing for the purpose of receiving public comment on opening and amending the 2023 budget for a state flood mitigation grant and other miscellaneous changes. All funds, budgets may be considered as necessary. So I need a motion to enter public hearing.
Make a motion, we enter public hearing.
I second that motion.
Motion to enter public hearing, it's been seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay. So we are now in a public hearing for, we've now entered a public hearing for comments on opening the budget. Bonnie, do you want to come up and tell us the other items, and then we'll go to any members of the public? So we're aware of other items that we would discuss.
While she's handing those out, maybe just to preempt a little bit of confusion, this public hearing will impact almost the rest of the agenda, and some of them are resolutions, and some of them are not. So some are step and grade resolutions, and some are just simply approvals, but they're all contingent on the budget changes.
On the budget change, okay. So if you want to quickly go through these, and then we'll have any comments from the public, and then after we close the public hearing, we'll come back to the commission for the commission to ask questions. So if you got some questions of Bonnie, save them for after we close the public hearing, okay? All right, just quickly go over and give it an explanation for us and the public, so the public is aware if they have any comments. Go ahead.
Okay, so this is just a tentative list. It's,
Talk loud and talk
it's a
into your
tentative
mic,
list.
like loud.
It can be modified. It's just the things that I'm aware of. Central Utah Mental Health, we were asked to, for an additional contribution. Part of the shortage, I'm going to ask for a budget transfer. The other part is just a small amount of $300 to cover that additional match. The designated projects for predator control, the contract amendment requires that we open the budget for that. I just updated this, and I apologize, those numbers aren't showing there. I can add that to the actual one that gets attached to the budget. USIP, every year we go through an audit. It was not known, what the pay was going to be when they added, the bonus at the end of the year. So we owed a little bit more for workers' compensation premium after the audit. But in lieu of that, we also got a dividend check for about $7,500 too. So it's kind of a pass-through. The fair budget, this one was supposed to be $75,000 plus capital projects. Once capital projects was added, so the total was a little over 75. So they've planned on 75. So that I went back to the minutes. The intent was to do 75 plus the capital. So that needs to be amended. The next thing on here, and all these, this is color coded on page 2. So this top section is all general fund. Justice Court split duty position in the Delta office. The anticipated cost for that change is going to be about $1,700, including benefits. Impact fees has to be accounted for completely separately. There's a lot of reporting that goes along with that in the accounting. So even if there's money in the budget, I put it on here as part of the public hearing. If it's the intent that we're going to move from one line item to another, we need to do that. It has to be accounted separately in a different account. Also, the new piece of legislation for an RDA database, even though we don't have any active projects, we're required to pay $500 to the cost to maintain that database. Another grant we were hoping that would be awarded or known by this time, but it's not, but it's going to be up to $25,000. We can address this later if needs be, but it's for the coroner's grant. There will be some kind of award, and that's through the recorder's office. And then we go down to Fund 15, which is recreation. West Recreation part-time assistant manager. The estimated cost on that is $5,500. West Recreation part-time employees. We didn't have all the data in time to get a number, so we don't have a cost for this, but it's still on the agenda. The next thing on your list, I put it there just in case. It can come off. It's anticipated that the settlement will be covered in the current budget, but it's open for discussion because we need commissioner approval on that. State flood mitigation. So we have $75,000 in a reserve grant. The grant that was obtained is $82,000, so we need to increase that budget by $7,000 to finish out that grant. So those are the items that I have today.
Is there anybody in the public that would like to come and comment? We're open in a public hearing at this time. That's good that nobody complains about how we're spending money, I guess.
One other comment I want to make, though, on the revenue source, there's a decision that the commissioners can make for the revenue, where we're going to take this from. I would recommend the sales and use tax, because we're already at 100% collection of what we anticipated, so we could
Which
recommend.
item's that on here?
The sales and use tax.
Okay.
For the revenue side, right? And then we just recognize that revenue, increase our budget on the revenue, because we've already collected 100% of what we anticipated. And so then we're not taking it from prior year's fund balance. That's what I would recommend to cover these things.
Anybody from the public? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion that we close the public hearing.
I make a motion that we close public hearing.
Second.
I have a motion to close and a second to close the public hearing. Any debate or comments? Any more discussion on that? If not, motion has been made to close the public hearing. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, we're back to commission meeting. I'm going to put these on the table. If you got any questions, we'll just go through them from the top. Central Utah Mental Health.
That has to do with that $1,700 or $1,800, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's an addition to their, you're on that board, they
Yeah.
had something come up they did.
There's some more funding that was available, but to get the funding, we have
You
to.
had to match it.
we have
It's
to
a match.
it,
It's a
Which
match
which was
from
close to
federal.
$1,700 or $1,800, something like that.
Yeah.
And we just need to add a little bit more to.
That basically increased our contribution, mainly our contribution to mental health and drug abuse is money they used to match federal grants.
Yeah.
So when the grants increase, we have to have a match. That's a match. Any more questions? Designated projects predator control. Contract amendment. What?
So Bill, have you moved down to the 11:15 item then? Are we actually discussing the budget resolution?
Yes.
Yeah.
They're all listed individually.
In order on the agenda, or not on the breakout, they're all on the agenda.
So-
Nothing would prevent you from going through it all now, but you'll go through it all again when you get to that agenda item, 11:15.
So we don't need a motion now. You would just want to go,
There is no motion at this point, you just
Just-
go through, so there's
just
a
start 'em
bunch
at
of-
the
that's
time,
why I
just-
said that in the
okay.
beginning, there's
So
a
start
whole
at the
bunch of
10:50.
Items
Okay.
that all stem from the budget discussion.
because they're all on here, just in a different order, correct? Okay. All right, we'll go down to 10:50, discussion and possible approval of road department saddleboat for signees. That is down on the bottom there, the pink, which can be taken care. This is to catch up for some promotions in the past that we didn't take care of, and that is within the budget. Any comments? If not, I'll need a motion to go ahead and proceed.
Are they,
HR, do you want to come up?
Are they good with
Yeah,
this, or
let's
where
have
we at with
Jacob. I'm
that?
sorry,
With
Jacob,
them?
come and explain what the,
Yeah, so our recommendation
what we said,
was.
what the
that,
recommendation was, sorry.
Back in September, on September 2nd, they were promoted right to that position, but then it was put on hold, waiting for a pay point study, also waiting for an HR person to get put in place. And so they've been working in that position since that day. My recommendation is that we back pay that, and then we follow our own process and determine the internal value of that position, and then let them make the decision whether they want to move forward with that or not. But it does satisfy us doing the right thing for their time in position with the expectation of that pay. But then we also can follow our own process to determine the internal value of that job, and then move forward, let them make that decision if they want to continue on. So that's the explanation on both the assistant road supervisor and the bridge crew foreman positions, so.
Okay, any questions or discussion? Need a motion?
I make a motion to approve the road department settlement.
I second that motion.
Motion and a second to approve the road department settlement. Any more discussion on that? If not, I'll move the motion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay. Okay, thank you very much. We'll go to the next item, the 10:55, discussion and possible approval of a full-time position assignment of Justice Court 2 clerk in the Delta office. I think you understand that. This is the middle item up there in the brown. Justice Court split, duty position in the Delta office.
There's been a little bit of confusion on this. People wondered why it's not a resolution. It's not a resolution because we're not changing the step and grade table. This is simply an allocation question. What you're approving here is the allocation of the full-time position in the Delta office, not creating a new one and not changing any grades.
Just the way we're allocating our funds.
Just allocating a new position, and that's a budget question, not a step and grade question.
All right, thank you. Jacob, do you have any comments? You've been working, I think we're all.
Yeah, I mean, for clarification's sake, right, she splits her time between 3 different budgets, and she was approved from one budget for the increase for the promotion, and then the other 2 budgets, we're trying to determine whether or not they could cover that, right? And so 25% was going to be given to the assessor's office, and 25% was going to be given to planning and zoning, if I am correct. Trevor, is that your understanding?
Yep, that's my understanding.
So.
Okay.
And I think one thing to mention is that both of these that we've talked about, the 1050 and the 1055, have been process, or the way we should be doing them, kind of mistakes. And that is what Jake is here to help us with, and I think he's doing a phenomenal job. So supervisors that are here or are listening, that we got to make sure we're following our process, so we're not doing things like coming back and fixing these mistakes or not doing them at all, if that's what should have happened. So following the process is
Probably
key.
the first mistake we ever made, huh?
Yeah, it's probably the first and only, so we'll be good, we'll be in good shape if we leave it to those 2 things.
But I make a motion to approve a full-time position assignment of Justice Court Clerk 2.
I second that motion.
I have a motion and a second to approve the full-time position for that consideration. Any discussion, any more discussion? If none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay. Okay, thank you. We'll go on to 11 o'clock. Possible approval of Resolution 23-6-06, a resolution of the Board of County Commissioners, the Millard County, Utah, amending Resolution 13-01-22, adopting Millard County step and grade scales by changing grade assignments for positions within the West Millard Recreation Department. Jacob?
So, I'm assuming that is this for the part-time pool manager position?
No, this first one is the water safety instructor situation.
Okay.
And this one could go one of several directions. The resolution I drafted and sent out assumes that we're creating a new position within the step and grade scale for a lifeguard / WSI that they can promote to. But I've understood, based on conversations with Brooks and Jacob, that may not be the best solution to the problem.
Yeah, so after talking with Brooks, and I think this would be true on both sides of the county, that I would recommend just doing a premium pay for time taught or time spent teaching swim lessons, where it's not an actual change in step or grade, but it's just a 50-cent increase for the time that they're actually just teaching lessons as an incentive to have them teach lessons. And the discussion that I've had with Brooks is that when we move to the salary increase or the pay increase, the hourly increase for all of the lifeguards, they lost the incentive to get people to be able to get water safety instructor certified and then teach the lessons because there's no incentive there. And so obviously it's the biggest revenue generator for both the east and west side is those swim lessons for the summertime. It's a very minimal cost. Their concern was that they wouldn't be able to get enough teachers to teach those swim lessons, and they would have to reduce the amount of swim lessons that they taught because of that. So the discussion point that we're hoping to have is that we incentivize that somehow, and if we did 50 cents an hour just for the time taught there, we obviously bring in enough revenue through that to justify not downsizing our swim lessons because we can't get enough instructors. So that was the conversation. That's where it stemmed from.
Thank you. So Pat, the resolution is not written that way right now. So do we need a resolution to do what Jacob's suggesting? Or
That resolution would look a little bit more like the resolution down the agenda for the sheriff's office, where you're authorizing some premium-type pay.
Okay.
And I can make the change fairly quickly. but
If we
might-
decide to, you can make the change. Okay. To the commission for discussion.
I like that idea of premium pay when they're doing swimming lessons.
That's,
Yeah.
That's the intent.
For both
The
sides.
intent would be for both sides, for sure.
You think we're leaving you out, huh? If supervisors, if I don't call on you, you got to comment, you're welcome, so you know you're welcome to come and have the discussion. I might miss you often, but go ahead. We good?
no, yeah, I think that's a great idea. And so they're hired to have the expectation to get that license, right?
Yeah, so
Now, 'cause currently they haven't had it.
Right, currently that has not been a condition of employment, is that, hey, when you're hired as this, that you get the water safety instructor. They then would offer an incentive, which was the 50 cents an hour for those who wanted to get it and also teach swim lessons. So the discussion could be, it becomes a condition of employment moving forward. Everybody gets it. But for this year, right, the current lifeguards, in order to incentivize them, this was the discussion, in order to incentivize them, give them the premium pay while they're teaching it, and then they can keep their classes full and open for the summer. That was the discussion from Brooks, so.
Okay.
Prior to, like, before we got the pay increase, the earlier this year, being a WSI was a step increase. It would, like, so you would go from, a normal lifeguard is like a 1A, but if you got your WSI, you would go to a 2. But then when we got the increase to $10 an hour for everybody.
It wiped that out.
You were a lifeguard was $10, a lifeguard WSI was $10, and there was no discrepancy, and that's why we're.
Okay. This is the first step to maybe a future conversation then, is that what?
Yeah. Yeah, and my recommendation would be just a pay premium for while you're teaching it, right? Because if you're just lifeguarding, you're not doing any extra duties, but if you are teaching that, it's an incentive to actually teach that. So
Yeah.
not a change in step and grade.
Right, because they
They
could go get the certification and still say, well, I'm making the same, so I'm not gonna go teach.
Right,
type
because,
thing.
Brennan, we do that internal certification now, right? It's not an external thing, so.
Okay.
Yeah, I think this will incentivize them to actually teach and not just get the certification and then not teach.
Right.
Okay, thank you. That's a good suggestion. So Pat, maybe when you have that concluded, let us know and we'll come back and take a motion on it?
Yep.
Okay.
We don't have a budget number for that, so.
Oh, so we want to put that one off, maybe
Save it for
a meeting?
different meeting.
Yeah, I mean, we don't have a hard number because we didn't get this to Bonnie in time to actually get.
So do you want to put it on the agenda for next time? And we'll, Pat, so you can work on it for next time.
That was my fault.
Okay, that's all right. We'll put it on for next time, then we'll have you still won't have one. You'll have an anticipated one is what you'll have.
Yeah, I've got numbers from both the west and the east side on swim lessons. I don't know if this is last year's number or who's signed up this year or what's anticipated, but there's quite a few.
Okay, thank you. Kayla, will you just move that over to next time? Make sure, then we can Pat can have the resolution worked up. Okay, let's go on
And maybe
to the.
include all of recreation, not just West, too, right?
Yeah, that's what the resolution actually was for everybody, but I realized that the agenda was just West. But yeah, the resolution included everybody.
Next item on the agenda, discussion on possible approval of resolution 23-6-06A. Resolution of the Millard County Board of Commissioners, resolution of the Board of County Commissioners, Millard County, amending Resolution 13-01-22, adopting Millard step and grade scales by adding a part-time position of swimming pool manager within the West Millard Recreation Department. Pat, or Jacob, go ahead.
So Ginger Moody has been doing this position for 4 years now. It just never has been officially moved. The conversation with Brooks was that we don't replace her position, we just promote, add a new position, and so it's not that we're having to replace her, but there's a step increase and a grade increase that is being requested. She's going to be doing more of the management, performance evaluations, performance reviews, more of the budget inventorying over there, plus managing part-time management of the west side pool. And so to keep up with the job additions that she has been given, he would like to do the pay increase to go with that. So
I wasn't able to access step and grade yesterday for some reason online, and I'm looking at it, there's already a pool manager in this part-time step and grade schedule.
sure, this is an assistant pool manager
Oh,
for, just for the west side. She's a part-time employee,
okay.
and it would be an assistant pool manager job,
Okay.
so.
Okay, commission for discussion or questions. This is on our sheet. It's a top yellow.
So what new roles is she taking on and who's she taking them off of?
So again, she's been doing it for 4 years,
Okay.
right? And,
So she's not getting any additional now?
well, the new additions would be the review process that we're implementing.
Okay.
That she would be responsible for doing all of the performance evaluations for the lifeguards, all the pool staff that's over there that Brooks doesn't have the bandwidth to do
Okay.
there. Plus, she's the one managing that performance anyway, and so, but it would, I think it's just catching up from the duties been assigned to her already.
Does she do the scheduling? Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I think essentially she's doing the management of the pool operations over there now,
Okay.
so.
Monty, is this within that budget, or do they anticipate taking out of that budget, or what's the needs?
I understand that they're asking for extra, and I was given an amount and not a grade. So, and we base that on historically what number of hours she's worked per year and what's left, and so that would cost for, and keep in mind, this is ongoing, so that's why we're doing this process, right? If it was within the budget, but $5,500 to bring it to the $20 an hour?
So that's out of general fund?
Correct.
Okay,
Well, it's in Fund 15, but general fund funds 15, recreation.
okay. To the commission for motions or discussion.
I've talked to Brooks and Jacob both quite a bit about this, and she definitely needs to be making more than she currently is.
Yeah, I think the conversation is that if she's going to continue doing what she's doing, and that's a role that's going to be given her, then my recommendation would be that there's an increase there.
Okay,
So if the conversation is the position necessary, then we can do an operational assessment and a performance assessment with position management assessment happening there and see if it's necessary, but it has been functioning for a number of years. And so the expectation from Brooks is that it is a necessary position. So, but I don't know if any of us have done the operational assessment on that to see if there's a position management that we could optimize that or not. So if she's going to stay doing what she's doing, my recommendation is getting her the additional pay because it justifies the added value that she's bringing, so.
okay, I need more comments or a motion.
What is her position now?
Well, technically, her position is just shift supervisor.
Okay.
But she's not doing the position of shift, just merely shift supervisor. She's had a bunch of additional roles added to that position.
Okay, so I just need a grade. Well, I guess after discussion, I just need to know a grade to plug into here.
It's grade 14.
Yeah, I think that's what we talked about, grade 14.
Grade 14 on part-time?
Yes.
Because the pool manager is
20.
grade 8. In here.
But that's a full-time position, yeah?
I'm looking at the part-time.
Isn't the pool manager running a full-time position?
We do have a full-time pool manager, yeah.
But Ginger would only be part-time.
Yeah, she's on the part-time scale.
So are you looking at
Well, we're probably gonna have to fix this because it's gonna look really funny in our part-time step and grade schedule where when you've got a pool manager at a grade 8 and an assistant pool manager at a.
Oh, you don't have the most current count?
Oh.
This is it. This is it.
Okay.
So 14.
Okay, 14.
So I guess the question is, does that complicate what we're doing over here? We got,
I didn't anticipate that, Brendan. What are your thoughts? I mean, obviously, it's too great.
Brendan's saying yes.
So-
Should we get them more consistent with?
So the conversation is that it would move her to, she's got 19 years with the county, right? It would move her to less than the full-time position's making, which should be the case because she's not working full-time. She also is not getting benefits, so it's not near the cost to the county, but she's doing very similar roles, just at 10 hours less a week and with no benefits, right? And so that was the justification for the increase, is that she's doing very similar roles, but it's 10 hours a week less and without benefits. And she will be making less per hour than the full-time position because she is part-time. So
I don't understand it all, but as we've gone through the budgets the last 2 or 3 years, employees that are working part-time really is subject to by the time we put benefits, they aren't, it's a lot easier to reward them with extra salary than it is the benefits, because the benefits of a full-time, their hour might be longer, but the benefits equate to significantly more dollars.
yeah, almost
So-
double, right?
So, yeah, almost double, not quite, but almost double, so.
Brendan, thoughts?
So there is that difference, so.
Is it just gonna open up, so they're an assistant pool manager job title now? I guess is my question? Or is this just like a special thing for Ginger? Because the situations are different, right? In Delta, they have a rec director, and then they have a full-time rec office lady over there, right? And over here, we have me as a full-time director and a full-time pool manager. So we each have two full-time employees. They're just different. And so my question is, does it just open up a position for an assistant within over here as well? Because we could hire an assistant over here that could, help me and help.
Well, all this does is create a position. This just adds a position to the step and grade scale. The allocation of those positions is a budget question that just has to be dealt with separately.
Yeah, and my recommendation would be that we just do a full operational assessment with position management and see what is needed, right? Get all the numbers and do that and see what's needed, so.
Well, and we've got to see how many kids are going to the pool in Delta, how many are coming in Fillmore, how many kids are signing up for rec, is Sarah's position justified by more? And I'm not saying it is or not, I'm just, we got to assess all of that to.
Yeah, we just do a full performance assessment, and I can get involved with that and get with Brooks and Brendan and get those numbers. And
Are you wanting to do that before we make this decision?
No.
Okay. But it's going to be hard to back it up, you mean?
Well, either we need to put Ginger back at just a shift supervisor and give those responsibilities back to Brooks, or, I mean, she's been doing it 4 years at $14 an hour, and she's a 19-year employee. And she's, I mean, I had a conversation with her, and she said, listen, I'm not going to do this anymore at this wage, and I don't blame her, right? And so we give those back to Brooks. But again, I think if we're going to have her working in that position and doing the added responsibilities, she's adding value to that position. Whether or not it's justified or not is a different conversation, right?
Yeah.
But, so it's up to you guys. My recommendation is if she stays and keeps doing that, then she needs the additional pay.
Okay.
But if not, I mean, I do think we do need to do the assessment.
She's doing above and beyond her current job description.
Yeah.
And I have a lot of numbers that we can look at sometime, because I have Brendan and Brooks both send me data on how many programs are running and how many participants they have, so.
So yeah, so let's, I mean, obviously, we'll put that on our agenda to do the performance assessment of that. So, and Bonnie and I have been discussing how to start that process, so.
And that's the problem, it's countywide too, that's not just recreation, it's.
Yeah.
It's, everything needs to be assessed, and job descriptions need to be set, and.
Yeah, so we'll start pushing down that route for sure.
Okay.
Okay, to commission for a motion.
I make a motion, we approve resolution 23-06-06B. Oh, no, sorry, that's the next one. I had my other check. Sorry. Resolution 23-6-06A.
I second that motion.
I have a motion and a second that we amend the resolution. Any discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
No,
Aye.
roll call vote.
Oh.
Roll call vote on resolution 23-06-06A as discussed. Commissioner Martin?
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Commissioner Wright?
Yes.
And just to clarify, what that resolution did is created the position. When you get down to the budget resolution is when you'll decide about allocation of positions. And I think the assumption is one position will be allocated, but that discussion can be had as to whether you want to allocate one for the east side as well. But all that resolution did is create the position.
And we can create that position on the east side, but we don't necessarily have to fill it, so, right? It's.
Well, once you allocate it, I mean, you're telling him to build a position. Yeah, once it's an allocated
Okay.
position, it's.
All right, let's go down to where we at? 11:10, discussion and possible approval of resolution 23-06-06B, a resolution of the Board of County Commissioners in Millard County, Utah, approving double overtime payments for Millard County Sheriff's deputies pursuant to IPP Impact Alleviation Agreement. Maybe Sheriff, do you have a comment, or Bonnie, do you want to take care of it? I think we're all familiar with it, but come up in case anybody's got a question. You have we have the impact form, we have that, you emailed that to us, didn't you?
I've emailed the impact alleviation form,
Okay.
Commissioner, that's accurate. The only comment I'd make is I've seen at least the draft form of the resolution, and I didn't take any issue with that. I thought it was brilliantly written, as always.
Okay.
And if there are any questions, I stand ready to answer those.
Okay, back to the commission. Any comments, discussion, or motions?
I make a motion, we approve resolution 23-06-06B.
I second that motion.
Motion and second, discussion of that motion, Evelyn. How much was that then? How much we,
It's 500,000.
on that, 500,000 or? No.
So again, and we've discussed that from the beginning, in committee, in Impact Alleviation Committee, that at best can be a swagged estimation, completely unknown exactly what type of burden is going to be placed on us. But
Yeah, I'm sure we don't know yet.
if we were to mirror just the last set of data, the last 12 months, that is kind of, and then adding on at least traffic shifts, that's the estimation.
Okay. A question, Bonnie, how do we budget that now? Have you got a separate line item then? We put it in special projects and budget out of that, or do we, tell me how we're doing
I
that?
will account for it separately in a line item in general fund,
Okay.
and it will show coming in and going out.
Coming in, going out.
And we'll take care of it with pay codes
Just
for
in
payroll.
and out, okay?
Yep.
All right, what we're approving is a line item to get in and out then.
Before you call for a vote, Bonnie, did paragraph 3, leaving benefits, did that cover that well enough, do you believe? I mean, it's very
Yeah.
general, but it basically
I think it-
commits everyone to understanding that this can, you know, deputies who receive this double time aren't going to accrue leave based on double time, so.
Right, or, yeah, just the mandatory benefits on that pay.
Okay, I have a motion second. I'll place the motion. All in,
Is this a roll call?
roll call vote.
Roll call vote on resolution 23-06-06B as discussed. Commissioner Wright?
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Commissioner Wright?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Moving on to 11:15, discussion and possible approval of resolution 23-6-0C, a resolution of the Board of County Commissioners of Millard County, Utah, for the purpose of opening the budget for state flood mitigation grant and other miscellaneous changes. Bonnie, do you want to go ahead and give us a quick explanation, or?
Sure.
Where's it at?
So
It's the
this-
bottom, it's in the green down there.
So typically, this is the resolution you have after you open the public hearing, but we stuck a lot of in between there to address them each specifically. So this is the resolution. We can go down the list and detail what you're approving, what you already haven't approved, right? So all those other things, including, this is the state flood mitigation, was the one that was specifically noticed. At the time, we didn't know how detailed this was going to be.
Okay, so basically, this gets us a line item for flood mitigation, which is passed
It
through.
already has a line item, okay? So you're just approving the additional amount of 7,000 is what I'm requesting to cover the grant of 82, because we already had 75 as a reserve grant for emergencies. So we're just asking for another 7,000. It's passed through.
It's all passed through.
Yeah. So in the resolution for, this list is going to be attached to that resolution, right? So we just need to go through the list, and we already know you've approved a couple of these things.
Yes.
But anything that wasn't covered that we are specifically, we need to go through this list and attach this list to the resolution. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay.
To the commission, discussion or a motion?
Bonnie, did anything change on here from all the prior discussions?
So the predator control is another $1,400. So if we can write that in. You can cross out in the pink the settlement, because that's going to be in the current budget, that 15,000. And I think that is all the changes that I'm aware of. So
Cross them out, will you just give Marky an updated
You bet.
spreadsheet so
Mhm.
for the
you bet.
exhibit?
Okay.
Discussion by commission.
Nope. I make a motion, we approve resolution 23-6-0C.
I second that motion.
I have a motion and a second to approve 23-6-0C. Any more discussion on that motion? Roll call vote.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Next item, 1128, discussion and possible approval of resolution 23-06-06D, a resolution of the Board of County Commissioners of Millard County transferring budgeted funds from department to department within the same fund. General fund, alcohol and drug to mental health for additional costs for Central Utah mental health.
This one's just a transfer. Wasn't in public hearing, it's just covering that shortage. This is the list that can be attached to the resolution.
Comments, discussion, commissioners?
I make a motion to approve resolution 23-06-06D.
I second that motion.
I have a motion and a second to approve the resolution. Any more discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, roll call vote.
Yes.
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 Sorry.
Is this it?
No, he's
Oh,
printing it
it's
off
coming.
still.
Okay. We're giving you a lot this morning, Pat.
Yeah.
The one didn't change. I gave her a copy of both, but I'll.
Okay, while Pat's finishing that, Bonnie, let's go on the next item, discussion possible approval of 2023 final tax sale.
Yes, okay. I have
What are we doing?
So we had our first tax sale online, and it went pretty smooth.
Went good?
Yeah, I really, it was really great for me not to have to be the auctioneer. So, we had 12 parcels that were turned over to my office for tax sale. 5 were redeemed prior to the sale. 1 was removed from the sale and will be on next year with, upon legal advice and ordinance. So 5 went to sale. We had 1 default at the sale. So what that means is the bidder bid an amount, they bid it up, and they didn't pay. So we went to the second bidder, they declined, because we're not, so we have, you have the option to go after that first bidder legally, but we've asked the next bidder and the next bidder, and we haven't heard back from the third one. And so this front page shows the 5 that went to sell in red, the 1 that was defaulted on. The minimum bid was less than $500. It's a Deseret Estates property. It's on page 2. The value is very low, and then the page 3 shows the bidding history of how it was bid up, and even the person that won the bid against themselves. So I think, you know, if you want my recommendation, I would just say that one goes back to the county. We don't collect a lot of tax on that, and there's some, even though the bidders are supposed to do their due diligence and know what they're bidding on, most of those come back to the county.
So Pat, they just defer back to county then?
The ones that don't sell, yeah.
Just stricken off.
Okay. Questions by the commission, discussion?
I think we may as well follow Bonnie's suggestion.
Trevor, you got any questions or?
Nope.
Need a motion?
I make a motion to approve the 2023 final tax sale.
I second that motion.
With Bonnie's recommendation, a motion to approve the final tax sale. I have a first and second. All in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye? Okay, thank you. Discussion and possible approval of 2023 Board of Equalization hearing dates.
Yes, and it's no longer required that we post these on our valuation notice, so I would like to just strike this from the agenda.
Explain that to me again.
So there's been some misinformation out there that in the past, and some counties still do it, they put their BOE dates on their valuation notice, and I was trying to get the valuation notice file ready as best I could before I got the tax sale. So I put it on the agenda, and we don't have to do that, and we'd prefer not to, probably because we just meet as needed in a meeting, and it's just a little less stressful.
So you'll just advertise them if they're needed and if?
Yeah.
Rather, okay.
As part of our regular meeting, and we'll convene as BOE. I think it's easier on you too than to schedule a few more dates.
I need discussion and approval of being able to eliminate them.
Good idea, I think.
Okay, give me a motion.
I make a motion that we strike the 11:30 agenda item for the Board of Equalization hearing dates.
Okay.
Second.
Motion to approve the striking the hearing dates. I have a second. Any more discussion? Seeing none, all in favor by indicate by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, nay? Okay, go on the next item. Discussion and possible approval of agreement with Antelope Valley RV Park to manage Millard County Fairground RV spaces during IPP renewed discretion. So, Brother Morris, Kevin, want to come forward and tell us where we're at? And I think Commissioner Lyman's been involved in these discussions too, so
So do you have a copy of the RB agreement? And a fee scale?
Other commissioners, have you got one?
Not with me, I don't.
I got the fee scale on my phone here.
Okay.
Oh, thank you.
So Kevin, do you want to go ahead and kind of explain, I don't know how much depth you want to go into, I think both of you have been in these discussions, and explain what we are intending to, or what, some suggestions of what we're intended to do.
Okay. This kind of came about after one of our tourism meetings, talking about what was going to happen with the TRT of people in motels doing long-term stay, and with the RV park, there's no way to move them around. And so I asked Charlie, I said, man, it should be nice if we had a way to put them out to the fairgrounds and still be able to manage it and have it so that it was done online. And he said, well, that's something that could be done very easy. That's what kind of started this whole process. So in several meetings with Charlie Edwards and with myself, Commissioner Wright, Commissioner Lyman, we kind of come up with a few things that would possibly work. Attorney Finlayson asked me to get a hold of Elise Harris, and she's kind of drafted this agreement. It's pretty close to what we think would work. There's still some questions that are up in the air about, there's no way to know that it's going to be a worker. If they log in and book a week, by putting the name and stuff, there's no way we would know that it's a worker. And then in here, in the agreement on the second page, it says 7 days would be the limit they could stay. And it says for tourists, but it doesn't say anything about workers, and is that going to be a possible concern to us? So there's some things that, you know, from the legality of it, because we don't want to get into long-term stay. This is something just to provide for tourists coming through that cannot find a spot to stay in Delta. And so we could have that overflow there. It would be on their website as listed as Antelope Valley RV Park, then there'd be a whole separate one that would say Millard County Fairgrounds. So it'd only be when that's full, then they could click down to the fairgrounds to be able to find housing there.
And there aren't septic hookups there, right?
Yes.
Because that way they would have to leave that spot.
What was that question?
At the RV sites at the county fairgrounds, they can't hook into a septic system.
No, they can't.
Yeah, so everything would have to be, when they're full, they're going to have to pull it over to the dump site and dump.
There's a dump site there.
There is, right on the property.
There's a dump site on the
Yeah, I
property,
knew
so
about
they
that.
actually have to do that.
Yeah. And so there's a few things we've talked about. He would really like to, if he got the deal, put a camp host there, which I think in a way would be a real benefit to the county to have somebody on the property 24/7 during the summer, knowing people pulling in, out. If they hear something, they go check it out. Kind of a security for the county, I think. But this is kind of a discussion to find out whether we think it's reasonable to do. One thing, talking to Bonnie, our fee schedule doesn't represent this in it. We'd have to probably make some adjustments. Because what we charge for events, when people come on and stay and hook to power, is $10 if they hook to power, $5 if they don't. Last night talking to Bill, he thinks Bill Lister, that ought to be raised. But that's very minimal to stay on the property. But it can't equal what we're charging somebody traveling through to stay either. That's got to be a higher cost because they're not participating in the events.
And Bill thinks that if we allow them to put up a tent, we should charge $5 per night. And I don't think that's mentioned anywhere.
It's not, yeah. So.
Anything else? So, questions?
What does Antelope Valley charge for theirs?
From what I understand, it's $1,000 a month right now and $40 a night. So because we don't have the septic tanks or something, he feels like $30 would be what?
It's suggested we could probably charge $30 a night.
And how much of that is he wanting?
25%.
25%?
Yeah, so it ends up being $750 of that $30 he would collect. That would be, and in talking to him, these people traveling through that go to these RV parks are expecting somebody to be there, to be there when they pull in and they check them out. That's something we can't add to the maintenance guys to do.
No.
And so they send somebody from the park that's their camp host. When they know somebody's coming in at 10 o'clock, they meet them out there, get them hooked up, make sure everything's ready. They check them out when they leave, make sure there's no damage and it's clean.
And they'll cover that cost with their 25%.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
that sounds kind of like a pain to them.
Yeah, it is a pain.
It's no money, it's no,
Which
they're not going to make
money.
money doing that. Their big deal is they feel bad that all the workers are in there and they're not being able to offer that service and we're losing tourists. They're going somewhere else.
Yeah. They want the tourists to come back in a year or two and have a place to stay.
And by adding that service, it just makes it, they think, we can go back there.
Well, and they will get that $5,000 each year, no matter what.
No, that 5's only a setup. They won't get it every year.
No, yeah, it's just for those 2 years, yeah. And then it's built into this that once we see a decrease in workers, this dissolves and we don't offer this anymore to the fairgrounds.
Well, I don't see this lasting 2 years. I think we're a year from
Well, we can break the contract.
not needing it
if we
anymore.
need to.
Which that's what that covers, but
Yeah.
construction is,
Yeah, and it says this can be terminated, with, any month that we both agree that it's,
so we don't have to pay the $5,000 again next year. That's all I'm thinking.
Well, and I did the math, and to make back that $5,000, we'd have to have campers there 222 nights.
So we're paying $5,000 plus 25%.
Yeah. So the 75% we get, if you do the math, we make that to cover the $5,000 after there's been 222 nights stayed there. And then that's just one camper. So.
and they're typically turning away about 10 people a day.
Well, the investment we have is $5,000 to set it up. Once you get that set up, $5,000 for 2 years. But once you get set up, you own that.
Yeah.
You'll continue to do it. The only thing is the 25%. If nobody comes, you don't have to pay nothing. So you're not paying, if they're not paying anything, the 25% is only if campers come.
Yeah.
So basically, you got a $5,000 investment. Kevin has said that he thinks I can squeeze him out of his budget, so we don't have to go get any more money. Basically, it's a tourism, and we'll be able to make better decisions next year after we get a little glimpse of this and see what happens. So
Well, Kevin also mentioned that after we make back the $5,000, if there's more money, he wouldn't mind sharing it with like the sheriff's office, because they'll.
Well, that was one of the discussions, is where does this tourism money, or this money coming off of this, where does it go? What budget does it go into? One thing with tourism, if it went back into tourism as revenue, we have the mitigation fund.
Yeah.
So that could go, if somebody's in there and they tear the fence out and the pedestal and whatever, we can mitigate some of that money back to the maintenance department to handle that. If it's causing more trips for the sheriff to drive through, we can mitigate some of that. And so it gives us an option of being able to put that money where the needs are
that's something we don't know, and we will have some, but until we get there and see, we don't know.
We don't.
Yeah.
So what if there's damage?
We have their credit card though, number, so we can charge them for it if they do damage.
Okay, well, because if we have to cover all the full 100% of the damage,
And
and they're
then,
taking 25%, I feel like they should,
an
if
envelope,
it's a $100 bill, they should be paying 25% of that bill.
well, envelope Barbie also in here mentions they have to have $1 million insurance. So,
Okay. I just don't want the county to have to cover all of the damage if there's damage occurred, and Antelope RV's scot-free from any damage that does occur.
Yeah, and we can add that into,
don't you think though, if they do damage, we can charge their credit card?
that's typically what happens, is, but they, and I don't know what their full agreement says, on it when they sign in. And we'd have to make sure that whatever agreement they sign benefits us too.
Yeah. It's gotta be like a hotel, right? You go and you sign for damages, you put your card down if anything happens.
And it would be the same, yeah.
I'm sure it's the same thing, but that's one concern I have is that.
And that can be handled because all the money will come to Millard County. So when they sign or go online and pay for it, it will come to Millard County at the end of the month when we get a report from Antelope Valley of how many people came in. It's all based, we've got all the money, and then we pay them that 25%. Now, if there's damage
Just have to
and
pay the 25%.
we can withhold it from that if it's.
Okay.
Any more comments, or I will just disclose that the people that own Antelope Valley is a relative of mine, so.
We won't hold that against you.
Well, everybody in the county is a relative of yours, so.
No, more him than me.
Or his.
Well, actually, my husband.
Were there a relative of yours too?
He has a lot more relatives here than I do.
So you got any questions? I would just say, we're struggling to try to find spaces, as Kevin indicated. Charlie, the owners, has said he'll turn down as many as, they might be for different days, but he'll turn down as many as 10 calls during the summer a day, just people they can't get in. So I think if we could get it going in the future, it'll benefit us a lot, because people's just going to learn to go vacation someplace else. Well, this would be vacationers. They'll learn to go someplace else if they can't get in. We have a bunch of spaces there. We don't know what it's going to take to mitigate, what gets damaged and that. We have some tools, credit cards, to get those mitigations. So when we get down the road a while, we'll be able to see. They've told me that actually, if we thought it was a good idea to get a camp host, if you would just they say they know people that just would like to come, if you'll give them their stay free, they'll take care of all that. So you won't even, you're not gonna have a cost other than one hookup.
Yeah.
Didn't Charlie say he's already got somebody that would
He does.
do it?
So there's that potential if we don't, but right now, the 25%, you do need someone there checking in, checking out. Someone calls, they're coming at 8:30, maintenance, or nobody's gonna run down there and check them in, and that's what they'll do, which I think that's part of the convenience, that people welcome them and greet them. This is what you do, explain to them where they're at, and so I think that's going to be an important part. You just get people pulling in and out of their way.
And do we need to have them hand the campers that are coming in, should we have the person hand them a tourism brochure?
He does.
Okay.
They're very good about it. We probably take down a couple of boxes a month for them.
Oh, well, good.
We don't now because it's workers and they've already done that, but yeah, they go through a lot of brochures for us. The other thing, just to make things easier, is they have where they can black out all the dates. So like the Millard County Fair, they can go in and they can, every spot where we say they can use, they black them out next year in advance, as soon as they know the fair dates.
Okay.
any other
That's
event.
advantage of the online, they can black out anything, and it's not,
Yeah.
you know, fair, stock show, they'll just black out everything and won't.
Yep, and then they know they can't get those dates, and they'll find somewhere else to go, or,
Who manages it currently, like, when the June Livestock Show was just going on this last week, campers wanted to stay over, anybody just get a pull up right now and hook up and?
yep, they unlock all of them, and they come in and use them, and,
Surprising.
Is that how it is all summer long, though?
no, most of them are locked up.
Okay.
We have some that we can't, we just have to kick the breaker off.
Okay.
Problem is, there'll be like 3 plugs on a breaker, so you kick it on, then the next 3 poles that somebody pulls next to, find out there's power there, and,
Yeah.
but we do, like with the rodeo where we have so many, they have somebody that walks around, and if they're plugged in, they get billed the $10.
Okay.
And you're suggesting at some point in time, we maybe ought to consider upping that?
Well, I think if we need to amend the fee structure to
What's
have
the
this
fee
included in
structure?
it,
Yeah.
we ought to look at,
There's
because
a
it
lot
has
of
to have
things
a
that
public
are-
hearing to amend anything in it, doesn't it?
What's that?
Like on the fee structure, if we change the fees, do we have to have a public hearing, or can we just change the fee?
That's a good question. I think ours,
The board has to adopt all fees, for sure.
right, the reason I chuckle is because some of our fees have been adopted by ordinance, and some of our fees have been adopted by resolution. And, if it's an ordinance,
Well,
then
don't-
there's usually a public hearing associated. If there's a resolution, it's not.
So we
Haven't
need to
we
change them all to
adopted them in budget hearings? Is that when we did them?
No, fees have to be adopted
Okay.
specifically.
You
Well,
can-
in recent years, we've adopted them all by resolution. All the changes, they've all been resolutions, but Bonnie and I were looking, and we went back, and there's actually an ordinance back probably, I don't know, 25 years ago.
That's another question for another day. Surprising to me, I was talking to some participants at the fair last week, and to show you how popular this is, there's people from Delta that actually pulls their RV down there and camps at the fair to attend the stock show. I was surprised at that. Oh, no, we like to come down. Gives us a chance to get together, so that's how popular these hookups are, so.
Sounds like a lot of extra work to me.
Yeah, so back to the commission for discussion or approval or of the contract, and that we should proceed.
Well, it sounds like he's got some changes that he needs to work with Elise on before he can approve anything.
Have we identified those specific ones? What do we need to change?
Well, it depended on the fee schedule, if we needed to do something.
We want.
If we need to add on the second page in number 1, where it talks, it's the 3rd line down, says less than 7 days for tourist. Do we need to be more specific in that?
I would say be less specific, just say 7 days, but
Okay.
just work with Elise, and she can make the changes, then get
Okay.
back on for approval.
And is 7 days
Okay,
what you feel like would be adequate?
well, let me ask you this. If we're not full, you got blackout states, you have a worker that needs longer than that, would we prohibit them from coming in? I mean, say they're gonna be here 2 weeks, a short term or something, why would we not? I think our priority's tourism, but if someone can't find a place to park for 2 weeks, why would we, if they're not there during our blackout states, why would we prohibit them and say, no, you're not gonna use it?
The only thing I can think of is when we have events and those blackout dates, so they come in, we let them stay 3 weeks, say, then they gotta leave for that week of setup, week of tear down, so where do they go for those 2 weeks?
Yeah, they're gonna have to do
So
that.
if it's just
I
a
wouldn't-
tourist passing through, we don't have to worry about
Yeah.
what they're doing in town, while we make them leave and then they come back.
So how do we draft that so we don't, I
I don't know if there's any way to police who's actually,
I don't, other than
Camping
just
there.
saying the dates, and that's
Well, they're
7,
gonna have to be out
7
the
weeks. If it's a
black-
worker, they're still leaving at 7 days.
In the winter, it's gonna
And-
shut down, they're gonna have to be out during blackout dates anyway, so why do we need a certain amount of days to stay? If they wanna stay and we got the room.
You're gonna be full of workers. What are you trying to do? Are you trying to bring tourists in, or are you just trying to
We're trying to
get more
bring
money?
tourists first.
And it sounds like that they'll be opening the rest of the camp or RV sites out at the man camp here pretty quick.
They are working on
They're
those.
working pretty fast on it.
Yeah, so that'll allow a lot of them to stay there.
I say let's just leave it at 7, because we're always just trying to cater to the tourists and not the workers. And if the worker wants to go through the hassle of moving spots every 7 days, then
After tourism season ends, though, would we want to let workers stay there if the IPP site's full?
Well, this site will only be good because most of the water's hoses and
It's
so.
all gonna be hoses, so-
So basically, when it gets winter, well,
Yeah,
you're done.
so we were looking, on here it says May through August.
Yeah.
I think we want to look at April through September,
Yes. I mean,
at least,
you're
because
good.
that's,
You're probably good through September, and
Yeah.
after that, you're pretty much gonna have to shut it down.
and then we would,
do you see many workers needing?
There's a big need right now, and there has been several delays on the construction of the
Because of not,
RV park out there that had a bunch of problems that have arose recently, so there are going to be delays with the RV park out there.
is there?
What's the earliest you think that might open for the first 100 or whatever?
The first 100, maybe the end of July, maybe.
So Kevin, have you got the changes? Do you want to go
Yep.
ahead with the lease and come
Okay.
back with the way it's written, and then we won't, hopefully we don't have to have this long discussion next time.
Okay.
Go ahead and get in there what we need changed and then come back.
okay.
And Kayla, would you remember to put that on the agenda for next time? We'll make final approval on it. So any more questions? If not, why?
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. Discussion possible approval of a contract amendment with Utah Department of Agriculture and Food for predator damage control. That, you have,
It's right here.
what's that? So what does this say, Marky?
We're gonna pay them more.
This was after the public hearing for this specific reason.
What's that?
I said it was listed after the public hearing.
Okay,
You've already approved it as a budget item. This is just approving and signing the contract.
approve it and sign in the contract. Okay, any discussion?
I make a motion to approve, contract amendment with the Utah Department of Agriculture and Food for predator, damage control for 2023.
Okay, I have
I second that motion.
a motion and a second. Any more discussion? Seeing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay. Credit card. Jared Bennett.
Lindsay had to run out on an ambulance call, so I'm presenting for her today. This is just a request for Jared Bennett for a credit card for $1,500. It's replacing a prior position that was retired, and then this person was promoted to lieutenant in the jail.
Okay, for 1,500?
Yep.
Okay. Discussion, questions?
That's just what it was before for the previous
What it was
lieutenant
before.
with the job, okay.
I think we may as well approve
Is
it.
he the new supervisor at the jail, or what?
Yeah, lieutenant.
Lieutenant, new supervisor at the jail, the old one
Okay.
retired, so. Need a motion?
Make a motion to approve credit card for Jared Bennett.
I second that motion.
I have a second. Discussion, no discussion. All in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
1,500,
No,
yeah.
1,500.
Approval for 1,500. Opening and possible award of, here he is out here, come on up. Opening possible for sealed bids, approximately 1,000 tons of road oil and freight. Brandon. Bonnie, do you have the bids?
Yeah, we received 2 bids, one electronically.
Let me ask a question here. As we open these, Pat, if we got a few other items. If Brandon leaves and looks at the bids and come back in, can we get the approval of them today
It
or
looks
not?
like we noticed it properly, so, yeah.
Okay, all right. Is it noticed properly? So we can do that, okay. All right, so we're gonna open the bids. Brandon's gonna take those bids and look at them and come back and make a recommendation, then we'll make a acceptance of the bid. Well, we'll accept the bids now, so go ahead, Bonnie.
Okay, so this one was received electronically. This is from Peak Asphalt LLC. It's per ton is $588, and delivery per ton is $45 for a total price of $633,000.
So 45 a ton?
That's the delivery. And $588 for the product.
Yeah, $588 for the ton, and $45 for delivery per ton.
Oh, okay.
There also is a fuel surcharge. I'll look at it and see.
Yeah.
So, do you want to explain that?
Yeah, let me read it first.
Okay.
Peak is who?
Peak Asphalt.
Yeah.
They just sell all their oil. They have in the back.
Where do they batch at now? Where are they at? Salt Lake, okay.
They're pretty reputable then.
Okay, this one was hand-delivered by the deadline, and this one is New Rock Asphalt Coatings. And this one is $625.72 per ton.
Does it have a delivery fee?
A freight pricing based on a minimum of 35 tons per load, freight amount in time 2 hours. It doesn't indicate that there is.
It's built in.
Is it? Okay.
So I need a motion, we accept the bids.
Make a motion, we accept the bids.
I second that motion.
Okay, have a motion that we accept the two bids. And a second, any discussion? Seeing
Did you
none?
say that the first bid also has a surcharge besides the delivery fee?
Well, it looks like the surcharge would be up to like, if the prices go up, fuel, yeah, they're gonna start adding percentages to us. Which most people do, I mean, especially the way things have been going lately.
So Brandon, do they batch here, or do they batch someplace else and haul it? Do they batch here, or will they batch? They'll haul it down from there, okay.
So the surcharge on that isn't for certain unless fuel prices go up?
If we give you some time, can you look at them? I have a motion that we accept the bids. All in favor, say aye.
Doesn't have a surcharge on it? No.
So it's 625.
All in favor that we accept the bid, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? Okay, if you can't get that by the end of the meeting, we'll do it next time, but if you can, why just go ahead and sit down and come back and give us a recommendation. Discussion and possible approval of lease agreement for the Margaret E. Bird Center facilities.
So after I sent that email, Denton called and corrected me. He didn't have to organize the Bird Center. They had actually, we didn't have anything in any of our records, but he got with Jim and they dug through all their records and found that they had previously organized as a domestic nonprofit. And so they used that as the basis for this lease agreement.
Okay.
The Bird Center need a lease agreement. You have it? Okay.
Yeah, if you have it, though, whichever, I just printed it.
Yeah, you've got a signature sticker on yours, so pass it over there.
So what do we need to do? Just
Just approve the agreement.
Approve the
I sent
agreement.
it out the other day.
Is this the same one you send out then?
Exactly.
Okay.
And I didn't,
So what does it say? Tell me, Pat.
it's a lease agreement.
Okay.
They're gonna pay us
Bird
$1.
Center are leasing the senior citizen center from Millard County.
For $1.
It has our typical,
It's a county building then, huh?
county owns it, yep.
County owns it? Okay. Okay, discussion.
They need this lease agreement so they can get some funding, or, well,
Okay.
they get money from the state as long as they have an agreement
An
that
agreement.
they can use that building.
So do you want to make a motion?
Yeah, I'll make a motion. I make a motion that we approve the lease agreement for the Emmy Bird Center.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion that we approve the lease agreement to the Bird Center. I have a second. Any discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay. And I need to sign.
Did you get that to Jen?
We're down to any public input. Everybody's left us.
It's been a long meeting, they're probably all
Bored
asleep.
you all to death. Nobody's got anything to say. So, looks like there's none. We'll go to other business. Pat, do you have any other
Yeah,
business?
two things. When we submitted our most recent applications for extension, we committed to metering our two wells. The road well at the gravel pit is the big one. That's the one that'll, I think, be a little bit of a commitment. But we had that discussion, and we also committed to metering the well at Sherwood Shores that we use there for the little concession stand and stuff. So we just need to get that done. State Engineer's Office called and reminded me, and we're into the season where water use is going up quite a bit, especially with the road. So we just need to get those meters on. So whoever has those assigned, if you just follow through with that, make sure we get them on there. And then the other one, the rodeo,
So what do we need to do? Just
get meters on them so we can
Just get
report.
meters, just-
Yep.
Do we have this in the budget?
Well, we talked about it during the budget cycle. I mean, it was part of the discussion back
should,
even last summer.
should be
when we
in the
started
road
this.
department.
Yeah.
Because it's at the gravel pit.
I don't think the meter on the Sherwood Shores one's gonna be a huge expense. I
It's
think
just
it's
gotta be
probably only
a municipality one, isn't it, basically?
well, I don't think they're not requiring that quality. We just need something where, because it's kind of self-report, we just need something where we can do it, but it could be something that's similar. I mean, it's probably,
Okay.
at most, a 2-inch well for that.
So we need to contact an irrigation company or something, and somebody needs to follow through and get a bid.
Yeah,
to
the big
do
one's
it.
the road one. That's the one that we really need to be watching closely, or we're gonna lose our priority. And
So
get in
maybe
trouble.
we need to include both of them with some irrigation company or something. We need to.
Or just an irrigation supply. I don't know that,
I almost wonder if we could just get our maintenance guys to do it.
yeah, I don't
Order
think
one
it's.
and put it on.
Yeah, I don't think they're requiring that it be installed by anybody or be any specific type of meter, just something that'll meter the flow so that we can report back to them. And I know they asked for two things on the road. They wanted us to monitor trucks leaving, and they had been doing that. I assume they still are. They've been just keeping a log of every time a truck fills up.
Brandon's been keeping a log.
We've
of
been
what
doing
they're
that.
taking.
I know, I saw one after the first month that Tony felt like was gonna be adequate. They also wanted it metered for the water going in, so
So if we get a meter, we won't have to keep the log anymore.
still have to keep
will
the
we?
log, they have to match,
Have
yeah.
to, they have to match,
Yeah.
okay. So we'll probably give that responsibility to Brandon, our road supervisor. And maybe,
And he knows, we've had the conversation, we talked about it last summer when it came up, and then we talked about it as we were kind of.
So you need to
prepping
press
for-
Brandon to get it done.
yeah, and we need to talk to East Maintenance, maybe see if they can help us with the.
West Maintenance, it's
the
Sherwood
other
Shores.
one out.
Sherwood Shores would be
Sherwood
West
Shores.
Maintenance.
Just have them do that. So what I'm saying is remind me to.
Those are both your groups,
Those-
so
they're both-
take care of it, Bill.
You remind me to talk to them, okay?
Okay.
My other one is the rodeo, as an insurance issue with the stock contractor. Sandy called, said, because we'd been telling them for several years that their policy really didn't cover the risks associated with the rodeo. So they went to a new provider, and they got a quote for a wonderful and outstanding policy, but it's gonna cost them $3,000 for both nights, $1,500 per night for this policy during that time, which was never, considered in any, we have a 3-year contract with the stock contractor, and that was never considered part of it. So the options are, we could renegotiate, pay them the money so that they could get the policy, or we could just waive that coverage requirement for the rodeo, which we've done for a lot of other things. Technically, USIP could deny coverage if we don't have coverage from a contractor, but they don't. They understand that these little events, that it's pretty prohibitive for contractors to provide that coverage at the little events. So that, I think, is an option, is just to have the commission waive that extra coverage. They've still got some coverage. They've got the commercial policy that'll cover some stuff, but it just won't cover a lot of it. But we know that USIP would step in and cover. And we have an indemnity agreement with them, so they'd be required to defend and indemnify if there was any kind of an exposure that resulted from their negligence. Rodeo, obviously, there's a ton of risk exposure, but almost all of it is waived. It's anticipated risk. You know, a bull rider isn't going to break his sternum and then say, "Man, I didn't expect that." And there's waivers in place, so it's not.
So you suggest we waive it?
Yeah, I would say we're close enough now that that's probably the option I'd recommend, is just waive that additional coverage this year.
Then go forward.
And we can continue to work with them. But the fact is, we're gonna be dealing with this every time, because for small events, coverage that actually covers the anticipated risks associated with these things, demolition derbies, rodeos, cost for that coverage is pretty prohibitive. I mean, so.
And if we was to get at this point, it needs to be a budget discussion for future, whether we want to put it or not. But right now, probably the best thing is just
Yeah,
to waive it.
next year we may want to just talk about getting that and making sure that we budget enough to cover that. But I was pleased that they did it, and I was pleased that Sandy followed through and kind of kept it in front of him. So, but
Yeah,
for this
okay.
year, I would say we'd be in, and there's a little bit more risk, but I think we'd be okay if we just waived the additional coverage.
Okay.
Have you ever heard of a rodeo being sued?
I haven't, but I'm sure they have. I mean, probably not by a participant typically.
No.
I mean, maybe, let's say it's a saddle bronc rider and a bull gets out and hurts him. I mean, that would be a fortuitous exposure. But if but the bull rider getting hurt, that's probably not. You wouldn't get that. Really, the bigger exposure would be to spectators.
Yeah, because most of the participants are
Would have to
too
be
tough to want to
spectators.
The
sue.
participants, they sign waivers, but they're not perfect. There could potentially be exposure, but the biggest exposure to us, to the stock contractor, everybody involved, would be to the spectators.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure participants, when they enter, sign a waiver probably should.
Yeah, they do, but they're never perfect. Those are never.
Well, I know a couple of years ago, Bulls got out, or almost got out, and that could have, back in the back part of the fairgrounds, and that could,
Yeah, that would be a liability then.
even if you are the bull rider at that point, you're just standing there and,
If you run and hit your truck, that's a liability.
yeah.
Yep.
Trevor, do you want to give us a motion to,
I make a motion that we waive coverage, just at the
Just
rodeo.
the extra coverage, yeah.
Extra coverage at the rodeo.
I second that motion.
a motion and second, any discussion that we waive extra coverage at the rodeo? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? I had not previously seen you, we talked a couple weeks ago about insurance coverage for restoration of this building. It's a lot more, isn't it?
It's what we talked about.
Is it what we
It was-
talked
yeah, it's what
about?
we had anticipated. I think we.
I didn't think it was
expected
that much, but anyway.
Yeah, it was like $1,500 per million
Yeah.
of extra. Yeah, it's-
Any other business?
I don't think it surprised us, did it? That was what we expected.
Well, yeah, other business. Go ahead, Bonnie.
So we received a refund from PEHP. And just to give you a little history, in 2021, we received $135,000 back.
Okay.
And 2022.
That's for our good behavior, or?
Yeah, it's
Okay.
based on experience, 60% experience, 30% longevity, and 10% member engagement. In 2022, we received back $85,000. In both those years, we got a payment holiday, a premium holiday in November. so employees didn't have to pay their portion of the premium. Because I guess, technically, probably some of this money is a refund. The employees put in 15%, right? But this year refund is only $23,225. So not every year has it been returned to the employees, but just letting you know, that's where we're at this year. Okay.
That means we need to start eating better, or what?
And exercise.
Exercising more. Okay.
Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Any other business?
I've got
Needs to be
some.
brought. Go ahead.
Bonnie, Rachel wanted to know what account this commissioner's dinner that's going to be a week from Thursday, what account that comes out of?
Usually it comes from one of the fair accounts.
She just asked me to ask you.
Can I look at it?
Yeah, sure. Okay, a couple other things. I guess both Scipio Town and Leamington Town borrow the bleachers from the county each year for their little rodeos.
Okay.
And the county's been letting them do that for free, but the trailers, or I don't know how many trailers, anyway, one trailer maybe is all it is, probably is. That hauls the bleachers needs new tires, and they're the only groups that ever use them.
Okay.
And so, Westside Maintenance was wondering if we could ask Scipio and Leamington Town to each, the total for new tires is $1,100, so they were wondering if we thought it would be okay to ask them for $550 each.
Is that the rack that they haul them
That's just a
on?
one-time thing, and they can continue using them for free after this.
It's just a maintenance cost.
Do we not use them for any of our events?
They said that they're the only two that ever use them.
Okay.
So if you ask me, I think that's all right. They're the only ones, they use them to haul, nobody else does, so see if we can get them to contribute.
He acted like he was willing to ask them, but if
Okay.
not, I guess we'll have to.
All right, you might end up doing it, but asking.
I wonder if we should come up with a round, because I know that the Topaz Museum wanted to borrow them the one time, and I don't think they ended up doing it.
They
But
didn't
maybe
end
we
up
need to have a
doing it.
rental fee to cover just some of the small maintenance on it.
He says that they don't mind them using them for free, but since the tires need to be
Need
replaced.
to be a cost, so
Yeah,
I'm good.
I'm fine with that.
okay. Also, need to remind you guys that we are serving food a week from Thursday for the commissioner's dinner.
Is that the 15th or something? What day is that?
Yeah.
Yeah, the 15th.
15th, Thursday.
All right.
And as far as, I was thinking about this BLM letter, and I don't know if I gave you two example letters. Also, when UAC was here,
Yeah, they give you one from Duchesne County or something.
yeah, but they never sent it to me.
Well, they didn't get it to you.
No, so I
Well,
called
You need to rattle their
and
chain.
got a
then.
voice message and asked if they had sent it to me.
Zeke was gonna do that, wasn't he?
Yeah, he's the one I
Okay.
called and left a voice message for. But anyway, if I'm gonna help come up with this letter, I want you two to both read through these example letters and say what you like and what you don't like,
Just send them to me,
We can do that. I'll do that.
okay?
Okay?
And then, I don't know if we need Pat to look at it and see if there's any legal
You don't
stuff
want
we
me
need.
to? Just do it.
And then I'll work with Marky, because I'm sure she can type a lot faster than me.
Yeah. Marky will get it
Or
all
her
typed.
office.
Marky will get it typed up for you. She promised me that. She's a good typer. So-
I'm not much of a writer.
So I will look at them, yes. Trevor, will you look at it?
Yeah, I'll look at it.
Okay.
Yeah, we've got those two, but Zeke was going to send us another.
He was gonna send, he said the best one, his comment was the best one I've seen is is from Duchesne, and all we can do is get some ideas. I think we need to put in there some of the things that are more local here that would affect us also, so.
Yeah.
And
I'm
just
just not
don't be
much of a
funny.
writer. That's why I was a science math major. I
Okay.
didn't really care to write.
So, any other business? Okay, we're gonna go on, any appointments to boards? None. Applications for delinquent property tax? None. Any discussion? Commissioner, county attorney, elected officials, secretary? BOE? None. Review of county policies and contracts? None. No closed meeting, Pat? We're good? Okay.
Want to go back to Brandon?
Business, we'll go back to Brandon, yeah. Thank you for reminding me, I was about ready to.
I knew you were getting excited to leave, so I knew you were just going to whiz right through it.
Thanks for your help.
Oh, also, do we need to talk any more about the part-time pool manager
No.
for the west side?
I think there's gonna,
Okay.
next time.
We'll wait till next time?
Yep, okay. Brandon, go ahead.
So I recommend using New Rock. They were almost $8 a ton less. They had no surcharge, no fuel surcharge.
That was the second bid, correct? Okay.
Have you dealt with them before?
Yeah, no, not with them, but I talked to Iron County and Beaver County, and
Quality is good.
they used them last year. The quality was really good. The trucking was a little slow, but so that's why I want to talk to them and make sure that is
Do you use that for patching and
chipping.
chipping?
Chip oil, yeah.
Okay, it's chip oil you use, okay?
So we're starting July, and I think, like I said, I think they'll be fine. They got some more transport trucks, I guess, so.
Okay.
And they're New Rock, is that what you said? You want me to make a motion?
So, any more, yeah, make a motion, let's move on. Get it
I make a
done.
motion that we accept the bid from New Rock for the asphalt.
Okay,
Second.
a motion and a second, we accept the New Rock bid, any more discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Okay, thank you, you know where to go. Thanks for coming in. Seeing no other business, we'll move this meeting adjourned.
Okay.
We'll recess,